Take a deep breath now, inhale slowly, hold for a moment, and exhale. Let your eyes gently close or soften. Wherever you are, whatever time it is, you're here now. You're safe. Welcome to this soothing historical journey. Tonight, we'll accompany the merchants who made their living crossing vast deserts, towering mountains, and endless steppes. We'll experience the sights, sounds, smells, and sensations of the ancient Silk Road through their eyes. The Silk Road wasn't a single path, but a vast network of trade routes spanning over 4,000 miles, connecting China in the east to the Mediterranean in the west. These routes flourished primarily between 130 BCE and the mid-15th century CE, creating not just a pathway for goods, but for ideas, technologies, religions, and cultures. Before we begin, I'd love to know, where are you listening from, and what time is it for you? Drop a comment below. I read every one. It's a small way to feel connected, even in the quiet. And if this kind of soothing journey resonates with you, consider subscribing this channel. I'd love to see you again. Now let's start today's historical journey. As you continue to relax, imagine yourself stepping back through the centuries, the modern world gently fading away as the ancient world comes into focus. The year is 742 CE, during the height of the Tang Dynasty in China, when the Silk Road was at its most vibrant. Now, close your eyes if you haven't already, and let's begin our journey as a merchant setting out from Chang'an, the magnificent capital of Tang, China, known today as Xi'an. Feel yourself becoming this merchant, with hopes of fortune and adventure filling your heart as we set forth along the Silk Road. Preparation in Chang'an. The morning air in Chang'an carries a peculiar blend of scents. Sweet osmanthus blossoms from the imperial gardens, the earthy aroma of tea being prepared in countless homes, and the pungent smell of fermented bean paste from food stalls already setting up for the day. As a merchant preparing for the long journey westward, you've spent months in this bustling metropolis of nearly 1 million souls, the largest city in the world of the 8th century. Your lodgings are in the merchant quarter, a maze of narrow streets lined with 2-story wooden buildings. The room you've rented these past months is sparsely furnished. A simple platform bed with a straw mattress, a low table for taking meals and conducting business, and shelves holding your personal items and documents. Through the paper windows, filtered sunlight creates patterns on the wooden floor as you begin your day's preparations. Take a moment now to simply breathe. Inhale slowly through your nose, hold for 3 counts, and exhale through your mouth. Feel your body becoming heavier, more relaxed with each breath, just as our merchant feels the weight of anticipation for the journey ahead. Chang'an is a city of perfect order, laid out in a grid with walls forming a rectangle 6 miles long and 5 miles wide. The main streets are over 150 feet wide, lined with pagoda-roofed buildings and teeming with people from every corner of Asia. Turks, Persians, Sogdians, Arabs, Koreans, Japanese, Tibetans, and Indians all mingle in the markets and streets, speaking dozens of languages. For weeks, you've been carefully selecting your trade goods. Silk, of course, is your primary cargo. Bolts of the finest woven silk brocades in vibrant blues and reds, embroidered with gold thread in patterns of dragons and phoenixes. The Chinese have guarded the secret of silk production for centuries, and even now, the West is as willing to pay extraordinary prices for this luxurious fabric, sometimes literally worth its weight in gold. But silk isn't your only merchandise. You've invested in delicate porcelain vessels, their translucent white surfaces, decorated with cobalt blue designs. These two are Chinese secrets coveted by the West. You've purchased paper, another Chinese invention still rare in the Western lands, along with blocks of fine black ink and carefully crafted brushes. In smaller quantities, you carry exotic items like jade carvings, lacquerware boxes inlaid with mother of pearl, and packets of tea leaves. As you mentally inventory your goods, visualize each item. The smooth, cool touch of porcelain, the soft rustle of silk as it drapes over your hands, the subtle settles of tea leaves. Allow these sensory impressions to deepen your relaxation. Now take another deep breath in, hold, and release. Feel your shoulders dropping, your jaw relaxing, your thoughts slowing as our journey continues. The preparations for a Silk Road expedition require more than just gathering merchandise. You've spent weeks negotiating to join a larger caravan for safety. You've hired 2 assistants, young men from Sogdiana who speak several languages and have made this journey before. You've arranged for the purchase of 3 sturdy camels to carry your goods, as well as a horse for yourself. Most importantly, you've secured the necessary documents, passports and letters of introduction to officials along the route, documents proving ownership of your goods, and letters of credit that can be redeemed at certain trading houses along the way, sparing you the danger of carrying too much coin. The night before departure, you can hardly sleep, your mind filled with calculations of profit margins and concerns about the dangers ahead. Bandits in the mountains, sandstorms in the deserts, corrupt officials at border crossings. But there's excitement too, for the Silk Road offers fortune to the bold and careful. As you finally drift into slumber, the sounds of the city gradually fade, the distant calls of night watchmen marking the hours, the occasional bark of a dog, the wind rustling through bamboo in the courtyard. Let yourself experience this peaceful transition to sleep, just as our merchant does on the eve of his great journey. Feel your own breathing, becoming deeper, more regular, your thoughts gently drifting like leaves on a stream. If you're enjoying this historical journey so far, please consider subscribing to our channel. Each night, we travel to different eras, experiencing history through the eyes of those who lived it, all while helping you drift into peaceful sleep. Departure day. Dawn breaks with the resonant sound of temple bells across Chang'an. As a merchant preparing to depart, you rise early, performing your morning rituals with care. You wash your face in a basin of water that your innkeeper's servant has brought, the cool liquid refreshing against your skin. You dress in practical traveling clothes, loose-fitting trousers, and a long tunic of sturdy cotton with a silk undergarment next to your skin. Over this, you'll wear a heavier outer robe for protection against the elements. After a simple breakfast of rice porridge with pickled vegetables and a few sips of hot tea, you supervise the final loading of your camels. These beasts, Bactrian camels with 2 humps, stand nearly 7 feet tall at the hump and can carry up to 500 pounds of goods. Their thick, shaggy coats will protect them in the cold mountain passes, and they can go for days without water when crossing deserts. Take a moment now to visualize these magnificent animals. Notice their soft brown eyes with long lashes that protect against blowing sand, their splayed feet designed for walking on soft desert terrain, their distinctive profile against the morning sky. As you picture them, continue to breathe slowly and deeply, in and out. Allow your body to feel heavier, more relaxed with each breath. Loading the camels is an art form. The goods must be perfectly balanced on either side of the animal, secured in specially designed wooden frames padded with felt. Porcelain is packed in sturdy wooden boxes cushioned with straw. Silk is wrapped in oiled paper to protect it from moisture and dust. Your assistants, Pulad and Davron, are skilled at this work, having made the journey several times before. The caravan you're joining consists of nearly 100 camels and about 60 people. Merchants like yourself, professional caravan guides, armed guards, servants, and a few pilgrims heading west to study Buddhism in the monasteries of Central Asia. The caravan leader is a Sogdian named Vakshunvar, a veteran of 30 years on the Silk Road who knows every oasis, every shortcut, and every danger along the route to Samarkand. As the sun climbs higher, the caravan assembles at the western gate of Chang'an. The scene is one of controlled chaos, camels groaning as they're made to kneel for last-minute adjustments to their loads, merchants calling out to associates, guards checking their weapons, families saying tearful goodbyes to those departing. Dogs bark at the unfamiliar camels, while city officials check documents and collect the final taxes and fees for goods leaving the capital. Breathe in this scene. The sounds of many languages blending together, the sense of animal sweat, dust, perfumed merchants, and street foods, the visual tapestry of different clothing styles and faces from across Asia. Let these impressions wash over you, deepening your relaxation. Take a deep breath now. Hold it for a moment and release, feeling yourself sinking deeper into comfort. Finally, around mid-morning, a signal is given. Drums beat a steady rhythm, and the caravan begins to move. The massive gates of Chang'an open fully, and the long line of camels, horses, and people passes through. You turn in your saddle for one last look at the magnificent city with its vermilion walls and towering pagodas, wondering when or if you will see it again. The first day's journey is easy, following a well-maintained imperial highway through the fertile countryside surrounding Chang'an. Your horse moves at a comfortable walking pace, and you adjust to the rhythms of caravan travel. The caravan will cover about 15 to 20 miles per day, traveling from dawn until midday, resting during the hottest hours, then continuing until dusk. Villages and farmland line the route, with fields of wheat, millet, and vegetables stretching to the horizon. Farmers pause in their work to watch the caravan pass. Children run alongside for short distances, fascinated by the exotic members of your group and the heavily laden camels. The imperial highway is marked with stone posts every li, about a third of a mile, a reminder of the sophisticated infrastructure of the Tang Dynasty. As the day progresses, feel the gentle swaying motion of riding horseback. The rhythmic plodding of hooves on the packed earth road, the creaking of leather saddles and wooden frames holding the trade goods. These repetitive sounds create a soothing backdrop to your journey, just as they can help guide you deeper into relaxation now. If you're finding this journey helpful for your sleep, please take a moment to like this video. Your engagement helps our channel reach more people who might benefit from these historical sleep journeys. Now let's continue along the Silk Road as our first day of travel comes to an end. First night on the road. As the sun begins its descent, painting the western sky in shades of orange and pink, Bakshunvar signals for the caravan to make camp for the night. The site he's chosen is a small way station specifically built for travelers, a simple walled compound with a well, some basic shelters, and an open area large enough for all the animals. The transformation from traveling caravan to organized camp happens with practiced efficiency. Camels kneel with much groaning and complaining as their burdens are removed. The animals are fed and watered, with the camels content to munch on tough desert shrubs that other animals would find inedible. Tents are erected for those who have them, including you as a merchant of some means. Others will sleep under the stars or in the simple stone shelters provided at the way station. As you settle in for the night, I invite you to take a deep breath. Hold it for 3 counts. And exhale slowly. Feel your body becoming heavier, more relaxed with each breath, just as our tired traveler feels the welcome rest after a day on horseback. Davron and Pulad, your assistants, have set up your tent, a simple but effective shelter made of felted wool stretched over a collapsible wooden frame, a design borrowed from the nomadic peoples of the steppes. Inside, they've laid out your sleeping mat and blankets, along with a small folding table where you can take your evening meal and review your account books by lamplight. The evening meal is communal, with travelers contributing what they have. Tonight, being so close to Chang'an, the food is still fresh and plentiful. Steamed rice, dried fish reconstituted in a savory broth, and vegetables pickled to preserve them for the journey. The caravan members sit in small groups, sharing food and stories. Many are old acquaintances who meet regularly on these trade routes, and their conversations are filled with news of mutual friends, market conditions in distant cities, and warnings about trouble spots along the road ahead. Listen to the murmur of conversation in different languages, the occasional burst of laughter, the soft nickering of horses, and the deeper grunts of camels settling down for the night. As darkness falls completely, the stars emerge with breathtaking clarity, a vast canopy of light that will be your nighttime companion for months to come. Visualize the scene of the caravan at rest, the glow of small cooking fires, the silhouettes of camels and horses against the darkening sky, the circle of light from oil lamps, the faces of travelers from different lands, united by the common purpose of the journey. Let these peaceful images help you drift deeper into relaxation. Now take another deep breath in, hold, and release. Feel yourself sinking deeper into comfort with each breath. Before retiring to your tent, you join a small group of merchants to discuss the journey ahead. An elderly Sogdian merchant who has traveled this route for 40 years points out the stars used for navigation and shares stories of his first crossing of the Taklamakan Desert. A Persian trader discusses the latest political developments in the western regions and how they might affect safe passage. A monk from India, traveling to Chang'an with a collection of Buddhist texts, speaks softly of the spiritual aspects of the journey, seeing the Silk Road as a metaphor for the path to enlightenment. As you finally withdraw to your tent, you review the day's events in your mind. The excitement of departure has given way to the reality of the journey. The physical discomfort of long hours on horseback, the constant vigilance required to keep track of your valuable goods, the challenges of communicating across language barriers. Yet there is satisfaction, too, in taking this first step toward adventure and potential prosperity. By lamplight, you make brief notes in your journal, recording expenses and observations. The gentle scratching of your brush on paper is the final sound of your day, a soothing rhythm that can help guide listeners deeper into relaxation now. As you extinguish your lamp and lay down on your sleeping mat, listen to the night sounds of the caravan at rest. Soft conversations gradually fading, the occasional call of a night bird, the distant howl of a wild dog in the hills, the whisper of wind through the camp. These sounds form a gentle lullaby as you drift into sleep after your first day on the Silk Road. Allow yourself to fall asleep with our merchant, your body becoming heavier, your thoughts slowing, your breath finding a natural, peaceful rhythm. Mountain Passage. The Hexi corridor days pass as the caravan continues westward, leaving behind the fertile lands surrounding Chang'an. The well-maintained imperial highways gradually give way to rougher roads as you enter the Hexi corridor, a narrow strip of traversable land between the Tibetan Plateau to the south and the Gobi Desert to the north. This natural passage has been the main artery of east-west trade for centuries. As you enter this crucial segment of the Silk Road, take a deep breath in, hold for a moment, and exhale slowly. Feel your body relaxing deeper with each breath, just as our merchant must find moments of peace despite the increasing challenges of the journey. The landscape transforms dramatically. To your south rise the Chang'an Mountains, their peaks permanently snow-capped, their lower slopes covered in dark pine forests. To the north stretches the forbidding Gobi, a rocky desert where little grows. The corridor itself is a patchwork of small fertile areas around rivers and oases, separated by stretches of barren ground. Villages become smaller and further apart. The population changes too. You notice more people of Tangut and Tibetan descent with fewer Han Chinese faces. The architecture shifts from the ordered Chinese style to simpler mud brick buildings designed to withstand the harsh climate of the region. Blazing hot in summer, bitterly cold in winter. Your daily routine has settled into the rhythm of caravan life. You rise before dawn when the air is still bracingly cold. After a simple breakfast of flatbread and tea, the camels are loaded, and the journey begins as the first light appears on the horizon. The caravan moves steadily until midday when the sun is at its highest. Then comes a few hours of rest in whatever shade can be found, sometimes proper caravanserais built for travelers, other times simply the shadow of a cliff or a grove of trees near a stream. Visualize yourself in this ancient merchant's place. Feel the growing strength in your legs and back as they adjust to daily riding. Notice the changing quality of light as you move into this more arid region, sharper, more brilliant, casting deeper shadows. Feel the dryness in the air that makes your skin tighter and your lips crack if not protected with oils. These sensory experiences can help you connect more deeply with our historical journey while guiding you into deeper relaxation. Take another deep breath now. Hold it for a count of 4 and release slowly. Feel yourself becoming heavier, more at peace. If you're enjoying this historical sleep journey, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel. Your support allows us to continue creating these immersive experiences to help you relax and drift into peaceful sleep. The Hexi corridor is dotted with garrison towns, reminders that this vital trade route has always been protected by military force. These walled settlements house soldiers of the Tang Dynasty who patrol the roads, protect travelers from bandits, and collect taxes and tolls. As your caravan approaches one such town, Wuwei, an important way station, you can see the imposing walls rising from the dusty plain, built from tamped earth and faced with fired bricks. The gates of Wuwei stand open during daylight hours, guarded by soldiers in leather armor with bows slung across their backs. Your caravan must stop here for inspection. Officials check travel documents, examine random samples of cargo to assess taxes, and question travelers about conditions on the road behind them. While this process unfolds, merchants take the opportunity to handle various tasks. Some seek the services of letter writers, sending messages back to Chang'an or ahead to associates in Western markets. Others visit the town's markets to replenish supplies or even engage in some local trading. Money changers offer their services, exchanging Tang Dynasty copper coins for silver Sasanian drachms that will be more useful in the Western regions. You use this time to have a local leatherworker repair one of your saddlebags and to purchase dried fruits and nuts to supplement your diet on the road ahead. The town's small but bustling market offers pomegranates, apricots, and almonds, luxuries that will become increasingly rare as you move into more desolate regions. By late afternoon, the caravan reassembles outside the western gate of Wuwei. The journey continues with renewed purpose, as everyone knows that the most challenging stretch lies ahead, the edge of the Taklamakan Desert, whose name in the local Uyghur language translates roughly to the place from which no one returns. As dusk approaches, the caravan makes camp at a small oasis marked by a cluster of ancient elm trees and a spring of fresh water. The evening routine unfolds, animals unloaded and cared for, tents erected, cooking fires lit. Tonight, there is an atmosphere of heightened anticipation. Musicians among the travelers bring out instruments, a two-stringed erhu, small hand drums, and a sort of flute made from bamboo. Soon, the night air is filled with music and song in various languages, each cultural group sharing their traditional melodies. Listen to the music of the ancient Silk Road, pentatonic Chinese melodies interweaving with the more rhythmic music of Central Asia and the melodic complexity of Persian songs. Let these ancient harmonies carry you deeper into relaxation as our journey continues. Breathe in deeply, hold, and exhale completely. Feel your body becoming increasingly heavy, more at peace with each breath. As you retire to your tent after the impromptu musical gathering, you review your accounts by lamplight. The journey so far has been expensive. Tolls, taxes, provisions, and unexpected repairs have all drawn on your reserves of copper coins. But these are anticipated costs. The real profits will come when you reach the Western markets where your Chinese goods will fetch premium prices. Outside your tent, the night grows quiet except for the soft conversations of the guards who will watch in shifts through the night. Their vigilance is essential, as this region is known for both human bandits and animal predators, wolves that might attack the horses and camels if given the opportunity. As you stretch out on your sleeping mat, you notice how your body has changed in just these few weeks of travel. Your hands are rougher, your face weather-beaten despite the protection of your wide-brimmed hat. Your muscles ache in a way that speaks of growing strength rather than weakness. You are becoming a true Silk Road merchant, adapted to the hardships of the journey. The night sounds create a gentle backdrop for sleep, the soft nickering of horses, the deeper rumbles of camels, the whisper of wind through the elm trees, the occasional call of a night bird. These sounds blend together into a soothing lullaby that has remained unchanged for centuries of travelers along this ancient route. Allow yourself to drift into sleep with our merchant, your mind quieting, your breathing slowing, your body releasing the tensions of the day as you journey deeper into relaxation. The edge of the desert. The caravan has been traveling through increasingly arid landscapes for several days. The Hexi corridor, while challenging, at least offered regular access to water and patches of vegetation. Now, as you approach the formidable Taklamakan Desert, even these modest comforts become scarce. As we venture into this harsh environment with our merchant, take a deep breath in, hold it gently, and exhale completely. Feel your body becoming more relaxed, more at peace with each breath. The morning dawns with a peculiar light, the sun rising as a hazy red disk through the dust suspended in the atmosphere. The air tastes different here, mineral and sharp. Your lips and nasal passages feel constantly dry despite your efforts to protect them with oils. Water has become the most precious commodity, carried in ceramic jars wrapped in wet cloth to promote cooling through evaporation, or in water skins made from goat bladders. Today's destination is Dunhuang, the last major oasis before the desert proper. As the caravan approaches, you see why this place has been a crucial way station for centuries. In the distance, a splash of green stands in dramatic contrast to the surrounding beige landscape. thousands of poplar and elm trees surrounding a lake fed by mountain streams. This oasis has made Dunhuang a natural crossroads of civilization where the northern and southern routes of the Silk Road converge before braving the desert to the west. The city itself comes into view, substantial walls surrounding a settlement that has grown wealthy from trade. Most striking are the Mogao Caves visible in the distance, a complex of hundreds of temple grottos carved into the sandstone cliffs. These caves house thousands of Buddhist paintings and sculptures created over the course of 1,000 years by artists seeking merit through religious devotion. Visualize this ancient oasis city as it would have appeared in the 8th century. The earthen walls rising from the dusty plain, the green belt of cultivated land surrounding it, the colorful flags and banners flying from temples and official buildings, the caves with their painted entrances visible in the nearby cliffs. Allow these images to deepen your connection to our historical journey while guiding you further into relaxation. Now take another deep breath, hold for 4 counts, and release slowly. Feel yourself becoming heavier, more at peace. If you're finding this historical sleep journey helpful, please take a moment to like this video. Your support helps our channel reach more people who might benefit from these soothing historical narratives. The caravan enters Dunhuang through the eastern gate, joining the diverse flow of humanity that makes this desert crossroads so vibrant. Here, Chinese merchants meet their Sogdian, Tocharian, and Persian counterparts. Buddhist pilgrims from Korea and Japan encounter monks from India and Tibet. Official envoys from the Tang court cross paths with ambassadors from distant kingdoms. Dunhuang offers luxuries that will soon be unavailable. Bathhouses where travelers can wash away weeks of accumulated dust. Tea houses serving fine varieties with skilled musicians for entertainment. Markets selling fresh fruits and vegetables grown in the fertile soil of the oasis. The caravan will pause here for several days to rest, replenish supplies, and prepare for the desert crossing. You secure lodging in a 2-story inn built around a central courtyard. Your room is simple but comfortable, a raised platform bed with fresh bedding, a washing basin, a low table, and a window covered with oiled paper that lets in diffused light. After weeks of sleeping in a tent, these modest comforts seem luxurious. Your first priority is to visit one of Dunhuang's renowned bathhouses. For a few copper coins, you enjoy your first proper bath since leaving Chang'an. The bathhouse is a social institution as much as a practical one. In the communal soaking room, merchants exchange gossip and information about conditions ahead, while attendants serve tea and small dishes of dried fruits. Clean and refreshed, you next turn your attention to acquiring necessary supplies for the desert crossing. The markets of Dunhuang specialize in desert travel equipment, larger water containers, special veils to protect against sandstorms, dried foods that will not spoil in the extreme heat. Most importantly, you hire a local guide who knows the desert routes intimately, as even experienced caravan leaders like Vakshanvar rely on specialists for particular regions. As evening falls, you join several other merchants for a meal at a restaurant known for its lamb dishes. Skewers of meat seasoned with cumin and grilled over open flames, served with flatbread and a yogurt sauce. The conversation revolves around practical matters. The latest reports of water levels at desert wells, rumors of tribal unrest in certain areas, news of market conditions in Kashgar and beyond. After dinner, you and the other merchants burn incense at the Buddhist temple and make offerings for a safe journey. Though many in your caravan follow different faiths, Zoroastrianism, Nestorian Christianity, Manichaeism, and various local beliefs, most participate in these rituals out of respect for local customs and appreciation for any divine protection that might be offered. As night falls over Dunhuang, you climb to the roof of the inn where guests often gather in the cool evening air. The stars appear with astonishing brilliance in the desert sky, seeming close enough to touch. You can identify the North Star that has guided travelers for millennia, and the familiar patterns of constellations that look somehow different here, closer to the horizon than they appeared in Chang'an. From this vantage point, you can see the silhouette of the city. The domed roofs of temples, the straight lines of the city walls, the rounded shapes of yurts where nomadic traders camp outside the gates. Beyond the city, darkness has swallowed the desert, but you know it waits there, vast, challenging, and unavoidable. In your room, you make careful preparations for the coming journey. You repack your goods, ensuring that the most valuable items are well protected from sand and hidden from casual inspection. You count out silver coins and place them in various secret pockets sewn into your clothes and saddlebags, never keeping all your wealth in one place. You review your map, though you know it shows only the major landmarks and wells, not the constantly shifting landscape of the desert itself. As you settle onto the platform bed, appreciate the comfort of a real mattress and clean bedding, luxuries you won't experience again for many weeks. Listen to the night sounds of dunhuang, distant music from a tea house, the calls of night watchmen marking the hours, the soft conversations of fellow travelers in the courtyard below. These human sounds will soon be replaced by the vast silence of the desert, broken only by the wind and the rhythmic movements of the caravan animals. Allow yourself to drift into sleep with our merchant, your mind quieting, your breathing slowing, your body releasing the tensions of the day as you journey deeper into relaxation, preparing for the challenges that lie ahead on the ancient Silk Road. Crossing the Taklamakan dawn comes early in the desert, with the first pale light appearing around 4 a.m. The caravan must move during the cooler hours, resting during the scorching midday heat. As you rise from your last night in a proper bed, take a deep breath. Hold it and exhale slowly. Feel your body becoming centered and relaxed, preparing for the journey ahead, just as our merchant prepares for the most challenging segment of the Silk Road. The entire caravan assembles outside Dunhuang's western gate before sunrise. Final checks are made. Water supplies verified, cargo secured with extra care, animals examined for any signs of illness or injury that might become dangerous in the desert. The new guide, a weathered Uyghur man named Tursun, with deep creases around his eyes from years of squinting in the desert sun, confers with Vakshunvar about the route and planned stopping points. The Taklamakan is not a desert of romantic sand dunes, but rather a mixed landscape of rocky plains, areas of shifting sand, salt flats, and occasional stunted vegetation. What makes it so formidable is the almost complete absence of water combined with extreme temperature fluctuations, blazing hot days giving way to surprisingly cold nights. As the caravan moves out, the green oasis of Dunhuang quickly recedes behind you. Ahead stretches a seemingly endless expanse of beige and brown, the horizon shimmering with heat even in the early morning light. The route skirts the northern edge of the desert, staying close to the foothills of the Tian Shan Mountains, where occasional streams provide precious water sources. Visualize this stark landscape, the vast open space, the quality of light that seems to come from everywhere at once, reflected off the pale ground. The silhouettes of distant mountains, providing the only reference points in an otherwise featureless expanse. Allow these images to create a sense of openness in your mind as you continue to relax more deeply. The rhythm of desert travel is dictated entirely by the need for water. The caravan moves from well to well, each one marked on ancient maps and known to experienced guides like Tursun. These wells, some natural springs, others dug and maintained by generations of travelers, are spaced roughly a day's journey apart, though some stretches require carrying water for 2 or even 3 days. The wells themselves become focal points of desert life. Some are simply holes in the ground with brackish water, while others have developed into small oases with a few trees and perhaps a caretaker who maintains the well in exchange for gifts from passing caravans. At these sites, you might encounter other travelers, merchants moving in the opposite direction who can provide valuable information about conditions ahead, nomadic herders with their flocks of hardy desert sheep, or occasionally Chinese patrols monitoring the frontier regions. Your days develop a strict routine. The caravan sets out before sunrise when the air is still cool enough to see your breath. By mid-morning, the heat begins to build, but the caravan continues moving until around noon. Then comes a long rest period of 4 or 5 hours, spent in whatever shade can be found, sometimes under temporary shelters made from blankets stretched between camels, sometimes in the shadow of a large rock formation. Travel resumes in the late afternoon and continues until dusk. The camels prove their worth in this environment. While horses struggle in the desert heat and require water daily, The Bactrian camels can go for up to a week without drinking if necessary. They seem perfectly adapted to this harsh landscape, with their broad feet that don't sink in the sand, their ability to close their nostrils against blowing dust, and their remarkable capacity to tolerate extreme temperatures. As a merchant, you develop new desert habits. You wrap your head and face in a light cotton scarf, leaving only your eyes exposed, to protect against sun and blowing sand. You ration water carefully, taking small sips throughout the day, rather than satisfying the immediate urge to drink deeply. You learn to appreciate subtle variations in the seemingly monotonous landscape, the different textures of rocky ground versus sandy patches, the occasional splash of color from mineral deposits, or hardy desert plants. Let's take a moment for another breathing exercise. Breathe in slowly through your nose, filling your lungs completely. Hold your breath gently, and exhale through slightly parted lips, making your exhale longer than your inhale. Feel your body becoming increasingly relaxed with each breath. Try this pattern 3 more times, allowing yourself to sink deeper into comfort with each cycle. The nights in the desert offer blessed relief from the heat, but bring their own challenges. The temperature drops dramatically after sunset, sometimes falling below freezing even when the day has been scorching. You add layers of clothing and huddle near small fires made from dried camel dung and whatever scraps of wood have been carried for this purpose. The night sky in the desert is a revelation. A vast canopy of stars, more numerous and brilliant than you've ever seen, unmarred by the haze that hangs over cities. The Milky Way forms a clear band across the heavens, and shooting stars are common sights. The desert guides know these stars intimately, using them for navigation when other landmarks are absent. Desert nights are rarely entirely silent. The wind creates its own music, whistling around rock formations and through the minimal camp structures. Camels make soft grunting noises as they chew their cud. Guards speak in hushed tones as they take their turns at watch. These subtle sounds form a nocturnal desert symphony that has accompanied travelers for thousands of years. One night, about a week into the desert crossing, a sandstorm approaches. Turson spots the warning signs by late afternoon. A particular stillness in the air, a darkening on the horizon, birds flying low and seeking shelter. The caravan makes camp earlier than usual, securing the animals in a tight circle and setting up tents with extra stakes and ropes. When the storm hits, it's like nothing you've experienced before. The wind rises to a howl, carrying so much sand that visibility is reduced to arm's length. Inside your tent, sand finds its way through every tiny opening, coating your skin, your clothes, your trade goods. The noise is disorienting. Sometimes a low moan, sometimes a high-pitched shriek as the wind finds different paths through the camp. The storm lasts through the night, forcing an unplanned rest day as exhausted travelers and animals recover and equipment is cleaned and repaired. This experience highlights the unpredictability and danger of desert travel. Experienced merchants always build extra time into their journeys, knowing that such delays are inevitable. The desert crossing that might take 2 weeks in perfect conditions is allotted 3 or even 4 weeks in practical planning. As you settle into your bedroll after the storm has passed, you reflect on how this journey is changing you. The hardships of the desert strip away pretensions and reveal true character. You've seen wealthy merchants share their water with humble servants when supplies ran low. You've witnessed the stoicism of the guides who face these conditions as a way of life rather than a temporary challenge. You've discovered reserves of endurance in yourself that you never knew existed. The gentle, rocking motion of the camel's pace during the day has worked its way into your body, so that even at rest, you seem to feel that rhythmic swaying. Let this soothing, repetitive movement help guide you deeper into relaxation now. As your breathing becomes slower and more regular, your thoughts more distant, your body heavier and more at peace. Allow yourself to drift into sleep, just as our merchant does under the vast desert sky, surrounded by the ancient rhythms of the Silk Road that have remained unchanged for thousands of years. Arrival at Kashgar. After nearly 3 weeks of desert travel, the landscape begins to change subtly. The barren expanses give way to occasional patches of scrubby vegetation. Small streams appear, fed by snowmelt from the distant mountains now visible on the horizon. bird life becomes more abundant, not just the hardy desert ravens, but smaller songbirds and waterfowl near the streams. These are the signs that you're approaching Kashgar, one of the most important crossroads on the entire Silk Road. As we near this legendary trading city with our merchant, take a deep breath in, hold it gently, and exhale completely. Feel your body releasing tension, becoming more relaxed with each breath, just as our traveler feels relief at completing the dangerous desert crossing. Kashgar appears first as a green smudge on the horizon, gradually resolving into the unmistakable shape of cultivated lands surrounding a substantial walled city. Located at the western edge of the Taklamakan Desert, where the Tian Shan and Pamir Mountain ranges meet, Kashgar has been a meeting point of civilizations for thousands of years. Here, goods and ideas from China meet those from Central Asia, India, and the Middle East. As the caravan approaches, you notice the dramatic setting, the city nestled in a fertile valley, with snow-capped mountains rising in the distance. Irrigation channels direct water from mountain streams to support extensive agriculture in what would otherwise be arid land. Orchards of apricot, peach, and mulberry trees surround the city, along with fields of wheat, corn, and melons. The caravan passes first through these agricultural areas, where farmers pause in their work to watch the long line of camels and merchants. Children run alongside, curious about these travelers from distant lands. The road becomes increasingly busy with local traffic, farmers bringing produce to market, shepherds with flocks of sheep and goats, local merchants with donkey carts laden with goods. Visualize this transformation from the empty desert to this vibrant human landscape. Notice the colors: the green of cultivated fields after weeks of beige desert, the white of distant mountain peaks, the earthy tones of the mud brick buildings. Hear the increasing sounds of human activity, conversations in Uyghur, Sogdian, and other local languages, animal noises, the calls of vendors already setting up outside the city walls. Let these sensory experiences deepen your relaxation as our journey continues. The caravan reaches the eastern gate of Kashgar by mid-morning. The walls rise impressively, built of tamped earth faced with fired brick, with towers at regular intervals housing guards who monitor all who enter and exit. The gate itself is massive, wooden doors reinforced with iron, wide enough for several camels to pass through at once, topped with a decorative arch inscribed with Arabic calligraphy, a sign of the Islamic influence that has begun to reach this region. Entry procedures are formal but efficient. The caravan leader presents documents to the city officials who inspect them carefully. Taxes and entry fees are negotiated and paid. Random checks of cargo are conducted, though most officials are more interested in the customary gifts offered by merchants than in thorough inspections. After about an hour of these formalities, the caravan is permitted to enter Kashgar. Inside, the city is a maze of narrow streets and alleys, radiating from several main thoroughfares. The architecture is predominantly Central Asian rather than Chinese. Buildings of mud brick with flat roofs and interior courtyards, decorated with intricate wooden carvings around doors and windows. Most structures are 1 or 2 stories tall, though occasional minarets and towers rise above the general level. The caravan makes its way to one of Kashgar's caravanserais, specialized inns designed specifically for trading caravans. These are large, fortress-like structures built around spacious central courtyards where animals can be kept secure. The ground floor consists of storage rooms where goods can be safely locked away, while the upper floor provides basic accommodations for travelers. The caravanserai you've chosen is operated by a Sogdian family who cater specifically to merchants trading between China and Samarkand. After weeks in the desert, Kashgar offers welcome comforts and opportunities. Your first priority is practical, having your trade goods safely stored and your animals properly cared for. Your assistants, Pulad and Davran, supervise these tasks while you meet with the caravanserai owner to arrange longer-term accommodations. Most members of your caravan will stay in Kashgar for at least 2 weeks, resting, conducting local business, preparing for the next leg of the journey through the mountain passes to Samarkand. Let's take a moment for another relaxing breath cycle. Breathe in slowly, filling your lungs completely. Hold your breath gently and exhale through slightly parted lips, making your exhale longer than your inhale. Feel any remaining tension melting away with each breath. Try this pattern 2 more times, allowing yourself to sink deeper into comfort with each cycle. Kashgar has been a trading hub for so long that it has developed specialized markets for different types of goods. In the coming days, you'll visit many of these. The livestock market, where horses, camels, sheep, and goats are traded. The carpet market, displaying the distinctive patterns of different regions. The metal market, where local smiths create everything from practical tools to decorative items. And most importantly for your purposes, the general bazaar, where merchants from different regions exchange their wares. With the immediate practicalities handled, you take time to enjoy being back in civilization. You visit one of Kashgar's famous bathhouses, where attendants scrub away weeks of accumulated desert grime and provide a massage for muscles sore from long days on horseback and camelback. Afterward, you browse the clothing markets for fresh garments to replace those worn thin by the journey. Food in Kashgar is a delightful change from trail rations. The city is famous for its kebabs, skewers of lamb seasoned with cumin, salt, and chili, grilled over charcoal fires. Street vendors sell fresh flatbreads baked in tandoor-like ovens, still hot and fragrant. Tea houses serve green tea with local honey, along with dried fruits and nuts. After weeks of basic meals, these simple foods taste extraordinarily flavorful. The soundscape of Kashgar envelops you. Calls to prayer from the mosques, merchants bargaining in multiple languages, musicians playing long-necked lutes and skin drums in the tea houses, the bleating of sheep from the animal markets, the constant background murmur of thousands of people going about their daily lives. After the profound silence of the desert, this human symphony is both jarring and comforting. In the coming days, you'll negotiate the sale of some of your Chinese goods here in Kashgar. The silk and porcelain you've transported through the desert will fetch excellent prices, as this is the first major market west of China. With the proceeds, you'll purchase products from Central Asia and beyond. Carpets from Persia, lapis lazuli from Afghanistan, spices from India, that can be sold for significant profit back in Chang'an if your return journey is successful. But for tonight, you simply rest in your room at the caravanserai, listening to the sounds of the city gradually quieting as night falls. Your windows open onto the central courtyard, where camels grunt softly and merchants from a dozen lands converse in the cool evening air. The physical relief of sleeping in a real bed after weeks on the desert floor is profound, allowing your muscles to fully relax for the first time in memory. Let yourself experience the same deep relaxation now. Feel your body becoming increasingly heavy, supported completely by your bed. Notice how your breathing has become slow and regular without any conscious effort. Allow the gentle sounds around you to fade into the background as you drift deeper into comfort, following our Silk Road merchant into restful sleep after the long desert crossing. The Kashgar Bazaar morning in Kashgar begins with the resonant calls to prayer from the city's mosques, followed by the gradual awakening of street life. Vendors setting up stalls, animals being led to market, the scent of bread baking in tandoor ovens. After a simple breakfast of flat bread, honey, and green tea at your caravanserai, you prepare for your first day of trading in the famous Kashgar Bazaar. As we explore this vibrant marketplace with our merchant, take a deep breath in, hold it gently, and exhale completely. Feel yourself becoming more centered and relaxed with each breath, open to the sensory experience of one of history's greatest trading centers. The main bazaar of Kashgar sprawls through several interconnected streets and squares in the heart of the city. Unlike the specialized markets for livestock or carpets, this general bazaar offers everything imaginable: food, clothing, utensils, jewelry, books, medicines, and trade goods from as far away as Europe and Africa. The bazaar has a loosely organized structure, with similar products generally grouped together, though the boundaries are fluid. You dress carefully for this important day of trading, wearing clothes that mark you as a merchant of some standing, but not so fine as to make you appear an easy target for overcharging. You bring with you samples of your silk and porcelain goods, not the items themselves, which remain securely locked in the caravanserai storage rooms, but small swatches of silk and drawings of your porcelain pieces that interested buyers can examine. Your assistant, Davron, accompanies you as both translator and security. Though you've picked up some Uyghur and Sogdian phrases during your travels, complex negotiations require more fluency than you possess. Davron speaks 5 languages fluently and can manage basic communication in several more, making him invaluable in a multilingual trading hub like Kashgar. Visualize the bazaar as you enter its labyrinthine passages. Narrow streets covered with awnings that create dappled light. Stalls built of wooden frames with colorful cloth coverings to protect goods from sun and dust. The press of people from dozens of different ethnic backgrounds, distinguished by their distinctive clothing styles, Han Chinese in their long robes, Uyghurs in embroidered caps, Sogdians with their distinctive pointed felt hats, Arabs in flowing desert garb. Allow these vivid images to engage your imagination while deepening your relaxation. The first stop is the section of the bazaar dedicated to silk merchants. Here, you'll meet potential buyers for your own goods while also observing the competition and current market prices. The silk sellers area is particularly colorful. Bolts of fabric in every imaginable hue are displayed on tables or hung from the stall frames, creating a visual tapestry. Merchants call out to passing customers, highlighting the quality of their wares and often claiming special prices just for you. You stop at several stalls, examining the silks on offer. Though China remains the primary source of silk, you notice regional variations, slightly different weaving techniques, local dyeing methods, particular pattern preferences. You engage in casual conversation with other silk merchants, a blend of social pleasantries and discreet information gathering. Without directly inquiring about prices, which would be considered rude at this stage, you glean valuable intelligence about current market conditions. One elderly Sogdian merchant, recognizing you as a newcomer, offers tea in his stall. While his assistant prepares the beverage, he shares insights about which local merchants might be interested in high-quality Chinese silks. Though you're technically competitors, there's a camaraderie among Silk Road traders built on shared experiences of the road's hardships. His advice is genuinely helpful, though you note that he carefully avoids mentioning specific prices or introducing you to his own best customers. The tea itself is a lesson in local customs. Green tea served in small bowls rather than cups, with the addition of salt instead of sugar, sometimes with a bit of goat milk added. The flavor is unfamiliar but not unpleasant, and accepting it with appreciation is an important part of building trading relationships. Moving on, you visit the area where porcelain is sold. Chinese ceramics are highly valued throughout the western regions, prized for their translucent quality and intricate blue decorations that local pottery cannot match. Here you find your first serious potential customers, a Persian merchant who supplies tableware to wealthy households in Samarkand, and a local Uyghur trader who has connections with the ruling family of Kashgar. The heart of bazaar trading is negotiation, a complex dance with its own rhythms and customs. When the Persian merchant expresses interest in your blue and white porcelain wine cups, a formal process begins. First comes mutual assessment through casual conversation. Where are you from? How was your journey? Do you visit Kashgar often? This establishes a personal connection that contextualizes the commercial relationship. Only after this social foundation is laid does the actual negotiation begin. You show your drawings of the porcelain pieces, explaining their special qualities, the fine clay from specific regions of China, the skilled artisans who create them, the cultural significance of the dragon and phoenix patterns. The potential buyer expresses admiration but raises concerns. The dangerous journey ahead might result in breakage. Similar items might be available from other merchants. His own customers have specific preferences. You respond with counterpoints. Your packaging methods are exceptional. Your pieces are from the imperial workshops rather than provincial imitations. You can modify future orders to suit his customers' tastes. Numbers are finally mentioned, but indirectly at first. Such pieces might fetch a certain price in Samarkand, or the cost of transporting such delicate items across the desert is considerable. Eventually, specific figures are proposed, usually beginning with the buyer offering roughly half of what you hope to receive. You counter with a price slightly above your target. The negotiation continues with smaller adjustments, interspersed with more tea, stories of previous trading experiences, and occasional dramatic declarations that "I cannot possibly go lower," or no reasonable merchant would pay such a price. By mid-afternoon, you've reached agreements with several buyers who will come to your caravanserai the following day to inspect and purchase your goods. The prices are satisfactory, lower than what these same items would fetch in Samarkand or points further west, but providing enough profit to justify the difficult desert crossing while still leaving you with capital to purchase Western goods for the return journey. The bazaar experience involves all your senses. The visual riot of colorful goods from across Asia, the cacophony of dozens of languages being spoken simultaneously, the sense of exotic spices mixing with animal odors and human perspiration, the taste of unfamiliar foods and beverages offered during negotiations, the physical sensation of different textile weights and weaves as you handle fabric samples. Let these sensory impressions wash over you now, creating a rich historical tapestry while deepening your relaxation. As the afternoon progresses, you explore other sections of the bazaar more as an observer than a participant. The carpet sellers display intricate designs from Persia, Central Asia, and regions further west, each with distinctive patterns and knotting techniques that identify their origins. The metal workers area rings with the sound of hammers, shaping everything from practical cooking utensils to finely crafted jewelry. The spice merchants offer small samples of their wares: peppercorns, cinnamon, cloves, and saffron, each more valuable by weight than gold because of the distances they've traveled. The food section of the bazaar becomes increasingly tempting as evening approaches. You stop at a small stall where an Uyghur woman is making lagman, hand-pulled noodles served with a sauce of mutton, vegetables, and spices. The process of creating the noodles is mesmerizing. She takes a small ball of dough and stretches it, folding and stretching repeatedly until it becomes dozens of thin strands, all without breaking. The resulting dish is hearty and flavorful, providing welcome sustenance after a day of intense negotiation. As sunset approaches, the bazaar begins to wind down. Some merchants start packing away their more valuable goods, while others light lamps to continue business into the evening hours. You make your way back to the caravanserai, mentally calculating the day's successes and planning for tomorrow's transactions. The caravanserai courtyard is active with merchants returning from their own business dealings. The communal areas buzz with conversations in multiple languages, everyone sharing information about market conditions, political developments that might affect trade, or news from their home regions carried by other travelers. This informal exchange of intelligence is as valuable as the formal trading itself, helping you plan the next stages of your journey. In your room, you update your account books by lamplight, recording the agreements made today and calculating potential profits. The physical and mental exertion of bazaar trading, the constant alertness required for negotiation, the careful observation of minute market signals, the endless calculations, has left you pleasantly exhausted. As you prepare for sleep, the sounds of the caravanserai gradually quiet. The last conversations in the courtyard fade, replaced by the occasional braying of a camel or the soft footsteps of night guards making their rounds. The day's sensory overload, the colors, sounds, and scents of the bazaar still plays in your mind, but increasingly distant, like ripples spreading from a stone dropped in water. Allow yourself to drift into sleep with our merchant, your body becoming heavier, your thoughts slowing, your breath finding a natural, peaceful rhythm after a day immersed in one of history's greatest marketplaces. Mountain crossing, the Pamir Range. After 2 weeks in Kashgar, the caravan prepares to depart for the next major segment of the Silk Road journey. The desert crossing was challenging, but the mountain passage ahead presents entirely different dangers. The route will take you through the Pamir Mountains, often called the Roof of the World, with passes rising to over 15,000 feet in elevation. As we join our merchant for this high-altitude crossing, take a deep breath in. Hold it gently, and exhale completely. Feel your body becoming centered and relaxed as we continue our historical journey along the ancient Silk Road. The caravan has undergone some changes during the stay in Kashgar. Some merchants have sold all their goods and will return eastward to China. Others are continuing westward like yourself. New members have joined, including merchants from Persia and the Byzantine Empire who had traveled eastward as far as Kashgar and are now returning home. The caravan has also hired additional guides specifically familiar with the mountain passages and more armed guards, as the mountain regions are known for bandits who prey on trading caravans. Your own circumstances have changed as well. You've sold most of your Chinese goods, the silk and porcelain, at satisfactory prices, retaining only a few particularly fine pieces that will fetch premium values in Samarkand. With the proceeds, you've purchased items that are highly valued in China and relatively unavailable there. Lapis lazuli from the Afghan mines, intricately woven carpets from Persia, glass vessels from the Mediterranean workshops, and spices from India. These new trade goods are carefully packed for the difficult journey ahead. The morning of departure dawns clear and cool, with the snow-capped mountains visible in the distance. The caravan assembles outside Kashgar's western gate, a smaller group than before, but still substantial, about 70 camels and 40 people. The new mountain guides inspect the packing of each animal, sometimes demanding adjustments to ensure balanced loads that won't shift on steep trails. Visualize this scene of departure, the golden morning light on the ancient city walls, the line of heavily laden camels with their distinctive two-humped silhouettes, merchants in travel clothes supervising last-minute preparations, guides and guards checking weapons and supplies, the distant mountains that mark your route ahead, their peaks seeming impossibly high against the clear blue sky. Allow these images to engage your imagination while deepening your relaxation. If you're enjoying this historical sleep journey, please take a moment to subscribe this channel. The caravan moves out with the familiar sounds of creaking saddles, jingling harness bells, and the soft padding of camel feet on the dusty road. The first days of travel are relatively easy, following the valley of the Kizil-Su River through increasingly rugged terrain. Villages become smaller and further apart, clinging to patches of arable land along the river valley. The population is predominantly Kyrgyz, nomadic herders who maintain small settlements for trading purposes, but spend much of the year moving with their animals through mountain pastures. The landscape transforms dramatically with each day's travel. The cultivated fields around Kashgar give way to alpine meadows vibrant with wildflowers. Forests of pine and spruce appear on north-facing slopes. The air becomes noticeably thinner and cooler, with morning frost despite the summer season. Snow-capped peaks rise on all sides, drawing closer as the valley narrows. The caravan's pace slows considerably in this terrain. Where you might have covered 20 miles a day on flat ground, the mountain routes limit progress to 10 miles or less, with frequent stops to rest the animals on particularly steep sections. The reduced oxygen at higher elevations affects everyone. Humans and animals alike experience shortness of breath, fatigue, and sometimes headaches. The guides set a deliberately measured pace, knowing that moving too quickly at these altitudes can lead to serious illness. Your daily routine adapts to the mountain environment. The caravan starts at first light when temperatures are coldest but the air is clearest. Unlike in the desert where midday rest was necessary because of heat, here the stops are more frequent but shorter, giving the animals regular opportunities to recover their breath. The evening camp is established earlier, allowing time to gather scarce firewood and prepare for the cold mountain nights. Let's take a moment for another relaxing breath cycle. Breathe in slowly, filling your lungs completely. Hold your breath gently, and exhale through slightly parted lips, making your exhale longer than your inhale. Feel any remaining tension melting away with each breath. Try this pattern 3 more times, allowing yourself to sink deeper into comfort with each cycle. After a week of gradual ascent, the caravan reaches the approach to the first major pass. The valley has narrowed to a rocky gorge with the trail clinging to one side, following a route that has been in use for thousands of years. In some places, ancient travelers have carved handholds and crude steps into the rock face. In others, simple bridges of stone slabs span small chasms. The trail is barely wide enough for a laden camel in many sections, with sheer drops of hundreds of feet to the river below. Camp that night is made at a simple stone shelter built by previous generations of traders, 3 rough walls and a partial roof, providing minimal protection from the elements. As darkness falls and temperatures drop rapidly, the caravan members huddle around small fires, sharing food and stories, while the guides discuss the crossing plan for the following day. The mountain experts explain the dangers ahead, not just the physical challenges of the narrow trail and thin air, but the risk of sudden weather changes that can bring snow even in summer months. They establish strict protocols. The caravan will stay tightly grouped with no stragglers. Certain signals will be used to communicate along the line when voices can't be heard over the wind. And if weather deteriorates beyond a certain point, the entire group will shelter in place rather than attempting to continue. Dawn brings perfect conditions for the pass crossing. Clear skies, minimal wind, and temperatures just below freezing. The caravan sets out early, with the most experienced guides leading. The trail becomes increasingly steep, switching back and forth across the mountain face to gain elevation. In the steepest sections, camels struggle, sometimes requiring multiple handlers to help them navigate particularly difficult spots. By mid-morning, you reach the actual pass, a narrow gap between towering peaks with prayer flags fluttering from a cairn of stones built by generations of travelers. From this vantage point, at over 15,000 feet elevation, the view is breathtaking in both senses. The awesome panorama of endless mountain ranges stretching to the horizon literally leaves you short of breath in the thin air. Following tradition, each member of the caravan adds a stone to the cairn, a gesture of gratitude for safe passage and a contribution to the landmark that helps guide future travelers. Some also tie small strips of cloth to the existing prayer flags, each flutter believed to send a prayer into the cosmos. Though the caravan includes followers of many different religions, Buddhism, Islam, Christianity, Zoroastrianism, all participate in these ancient mountain customs that predate any of these formal faiths. The descent from the pass is in some ways more challenging than the ascent. The trail on the western side is steeper, with loose scree in many sections that provides treacherous footing. Camels are naturally more uncomfortable moving downhill than up, requiring constant guidance from their handlers. The caravan moves with extreme caution, often with men walking ahead of the animals to test the stability of the trail. By late afternoon, you've descended enough to reach a more substantial level area suitable for camping, beside a small lake fed by glacial meltwater. Though still at high elevation, the increased oxygen compared to the pass brings immediate relief. Headaches begin to fade, breathing becomes easier, and spirits lift noticeably. The lake provides an opportunity to replenish water supplies with pristine mountain water, so clear you can see the rocky bottom despite its depth. Some of the younger caravan members even brave the near-freezing temperature for a brief, invigorating bath, emerging with skin reddened by cold, but free of the dust and sweat of the difficult crossing. That evening, around the campfire, the atmosphere is celebratory. The most dangerous single day of the mountain crossing has been completed successfully. Musicians bring out instruments carried carefully through all the hardships of the journey. A 2-stringed fiddle, small drums, and a flute made of eagle bone. Song and story continue long after darkness has fallen. Tales of previous crossings where entire caravans were lost to sudden blizzards, or where travelers encountered mountain spirits that either helped or hindered them, depending on whether proper respects were paid. As you settle into your sleeping furs, your body aches from the day's exertions, but there's a deep satisfaction in having met the challenge. The mountain air is the cleanest you've ever breathed, with a crispness that makes each inhalation feel purifying. Though the ground is hard beneath you, exhaustion ensures that sleep will come quickly. The night sounds of the mountain camp surround you, the soft lapping of water against the lakeshore, the occasional snort or movement of the camels, the whisper of wind through the stunted pines that manage to grow at this elevation, the crackle of dying fires as they burn down to embers. These peaceful sounds can help guide you deeper into relaxation now. Allow yourself to drift into sleep with our merchant, your body becoming heavier, your thoughts slowing, your breath finding a natural, peaceful rhythm after a day of meeting the challenges of the ancient Silk Road's highest passages. A night in a mountainside caravanserai. The caravan has been traveling through the Pamir Mountains for nearly 2 weeks, crossing several high passes and following deep valleys carved by ancient glaciers. The route generally traces the courses of rivers, descending gradually from the highest elevations toward the fertile valleys of what is now Tajikistan and Uzbekistan. Though still in rugged terrain, you've reached an elevation where breathing is easier and vegetation more abundant. As evening approaches, the welcome sight of a stone caravanserai appears around a bend in the trail. Unlike the simple shelters or open camps of previous nights, this is a substantial structure built specifically to serve Silk Road travelers. A fortress-like building with high walls surrounding a central courtyard constructed of local stone and designed to provide protection from both harsh weather and potential attackers. As we join our merchant for this welcome respite from the rigors of mountain travel, take a deep breath in, hold it gently, and exhale completely. Feel your body becoming centered and relaxed as we continue our historical journey along the ancient trade routes. The caravanserai stands at a strategic location where 2 mountain valleys meet, overlooking a swift-flowing river that provides water for travelers and animals. The stone structure has clearly stood for centuries, with successive generations making repairs and additions. The massive wooden gates stand open during daylight hours, guarded by 2 men who appear to be local Tajiks, based on their distinctive embroidered caps and long robes belted at the waist. Vakshunvar, your caravan leader, rides ahead to speak with the caravanserai keeper, negotiating the terms for the night's stay. Though these facilities charge fees for their use, they're considered essential infrastructure along the Silk Road, often maintained by local rulers who understand the economic importance of trade. Some were built and operated by Sufi religious orders who considered serving travelers a form of devotion. The caravan enters the courtyard, a spacious area paved with flat stones worn smooth by countless travelers. The design follows a standard pattern used throughout Central Asia. Animal stables line the perimeter of the ground floor, with guest rooms on the second level accessed by an exterior staircase and gallery. The center of the courtyard has facilities for cooking and a well providing fresh water. The entire complex is designed to be defensible, with a single entrance that can be barred and walls too high to scale easily. Visualize this ancient way station as it would have appeared in the 8th century. The weathered stone walls rising against the backdrop of mountain slopes, the courtyard bustling with activity as different caravans settle in for the night. The simple but sturdy architecture that has sheltered travelers for generations. The smoke rising from cooking fires as the evening meal is prepared. Allow these images to engage your imagination while deepening your relaxation. Now, take another deep breath, hold for 4 counts, and release slowly through slightly parted lips. Feel yourself becoming heavier, more at peace with each breath. If you're finding this historical sleep journey helpful, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us continue creating these immersive experiences to help you relax and drift into peaceful sleep. The caravanserai already houses 2 other smaller groups, a caravan traveling eastward toward China and a party of merchants from India who have come north through the Hindu Kush mountains with textiles and spices. The courtyard hums with the activity of people from different lands, speaking different languages, yet all engaged in the shared routines of the Silk Road. You supervise your assistants as they unload the camels and secure your trade goods in one of the lockable storage rooms provided for valuable cargo. The animals are led to the stables where fodder can be purchased from the caravanserai staff, a welcome change from recent nights when the camels had to make do with whatever sparse vegetation they could find in the mountain landscape. Your room for the night is simple but comfortable by the standards of the journey. A small chamber with walls of undressed stone, a wooden platform that serves as a bed, a tiny window with a wooden shutter, and a niche in the wall where an oil lamp can be placed. The floor is covered with reed mats, and hooks on the wall allow you to hang your personal belongings. After nights spent in tents or under the open sky, this modest shelter feels luxurious. The caravanserai offers other comforts as well. A bathhouse, while not as elaborate as those in major cities, provides the opportunity to wash away the dust of travel with hot water heated in large copper kettles over wood fires. The staff sells basic provisions: flat bread baked in clay ovens, dried fruits and nuts, cured meats, and fermented mare's milk that serves as both food and drink. Some caravanserais even maintain small shops where travelers can purchase necessities like rope, leather goods, basic tools, or simple medicines. The evening in a caravanserai is a social time. In the courtyard, travelers gather in groups, sharing meals and information. The eastbound merchants are particularly valuable sources of intelligence about conditions ahead on your westward journey, which passes are still snowbound, where recent rains have caused landslides, which local officials might demand unofficial fees for passage. You join a circle of merchants seated on carpets spread over the courtyard stones. The group includes Sogdians, Persians, and Indians, with languages switching fluidly as conversations flow. Your assistant Davran moves between groups, gathering news and translating when necessary. The topics range from practical matters of trade and travel to politics, religion, and philosophy. A Persian merchant who has recently come from Samarkand shares significant news. The Abbasid Caliphate has been expanding its influence in Transoxiana, potentially shifting the political landscape of Central Asia. While presented as intelligence relevant to trade, such information has deeper implications. Political stability generally favors commerce, but transitions of power can create unpredictable conditions. Everyone listens intently, asking clarifying questions and considering how these developments might affect their journeys and business interests. As darkness falls, lamps and fires illuminate the courtyard, creating pools of light in which different dramas of Silk Road life play out. A heated negotiation between a carpet merchant and potential buyer. A homesick traveler writing a letter to be carried back to his family by someone traveling in that direction. A group of guards relaxing with a game played with sheep knucklebones as dice. Musicians from different traditions taking turns sharing songs from their homelands. The caravanserai keeper circulates through these scenes, checking that all is in order, resolving minor disputes, and collecting additional fees for special services. He's a repository of information about the surrounding region and the routes that connect to it, having hosted thousands of travelers over the years. For a small payment, he provides valuable advice about the condition of the trail ahead and the estimated travel time to the next significant settlement. The variety of faiths represented in the caravanserai is remarkable, a microcosm of the religious diversity of the Silk Road. In one corner, a Buddhist monk from China performs his evening devotions before a small portable shrine. Nearby, a Muslim merchant spreads his prayer rug facing west toward Mecca. A cluster of Nestorian Christians from Central Asia quietly sing hymns in Syriac. A Zoroastrian firekeeper tends a small sacred flame, careful not to let it be extinguished during his journey. Despite their different beliefs, all share the unspoken code of the road: respect for fellow travelers, regardless of origin or faith. As the evening progresses, conversations gradually quiet. The caravanserai keeper makes his rounds, ensuring that fires are safely banked for the night. Guards take up positions at the gate and at intervals along the walls, protection not only from potential human threats, but also from predators like wolves and snow leopards that inhabit these mountains. In your room, you make final preparations for sleep. You check once more that your most valuable possessions are secure, money and important documents carried in a pouch under your clothing even while sleeping, other valuables locked in the storage room with its sturdy door. You lay out your bedding on the wooden platform. First, a felted wool pad for cushioning, then a cotton sheet, and finally your blankets and furs for warmth in the cool mountain night. The sounds of the caravanserai settling for the night filter through your small window. Quiet conversations, a camel's low grumble, the call of a night bird, the rustle of wind in the trees outside the walls. These sounds have accompanied Silk Road travelers for countless generations, a gentle reminder of the continuity of human experience across time. As you extinguish your lamp, the darkness is profound, broken only by slivers of moonlight finding their way through cracks in the wooden shutter. The stone walls around you provide a sense of security rarely felt during the journey, a temporary haven in the vast and often dangerous landscape of Central Asia. Allow yourself to drift into sleep with our merchant, your body becoming heavier, your thoughts slowing, your breath finding a natural, peaceful rhythm. The ancient caravanserai shelters you just as it sheltered thousands of travelers before and after, a constant in the changing world of the Silk Road. Journey to Samarkand, the Fergana Valley. After the challenging mountain crossings, the caravan descends into the Fergana Valley, one of Central Asia's most fertile regions. This wide valley, nestled between mountain ranges, has been cultivated for thousands of years, its rich soil and irrigation systems supporting a dense population and vibrant civilization. The transition from the harsh mountain landscape to this verdant agricultural region is dramatic and welcome. As we accompany our merchant into this legendary valley, take a deep breath in, hold it gently, and exhale completely. Feel your body becoming centered and relaxed as our historical journey continues along the ancient Silk Road. The trail descends gradually along a river valley where the vegetation becomes increasingly lush. Forests of walnut, apple, and mulberry trees cover the lower mountain slopes. Wild tulips and poppies create splashes of color across meadows. The air feels different here, warmer, more humid, carrying the sense of flowering plants and cultivated fields rather than the crisp, thin atmosphere of the high passes. Villages appear with increasing frequency, their mud brick houses surrounded by orchards and gardens. The population is predominantly Sogdian, with a distinctive culture that has flourished in this region for centuries. Known as skilled merchants and diplomats, the Sogdians have played a crucial role in Silk Road trade, often serving as middlemen between China and the Western regions. The caravan's pace increases on the well-maintained roads of the valley floor. After weeks of challenging terrain, both humans and animals seem energized by the easier travel conditions and the abundance of food and water. The daily distance covered nearly doubles, bringing you closer to Samarkand, the jewel of Sogdiana and your next major destination. Visualize this transition from mountains to valley, the expanding horizon as the landscape opens up, the geometric patterns of cultivated fields and irrigation channels viewed from higher elevations, the increasing signs of human habitation, smoke rising from village cooking fires, the sounds of domestic animals, children watching the caravan pass. Allow these images to engage your imagination while deepening your relaxation. The Fergana Valley has long been famous for specific products highly valued along the Silk Road. Its horses, strong, swift animals with great endurance, were so prized that Chinese emperors sent special expeditions to acquire them, sometimes even going to war to secure access to this heavenly horse breeding stock. The valley is also renowned for its fruits, particularly melons, grapes, and apricots of exceptional sweetness. Workshop towns specialize in ceramics, metalwork, and textiles, with distinctive local styles. As the caravan passes through larger settlements, you observe the sophisticated irrigation systems that make this agricultural abundance possible. Rivers flowing from the surrounding mountains are diverted into a complex network of canals and channels, some running for miles to bring water to fields that would otherwise be too dry for cultivation. This hydraulic engineering represents knowledge accumulated over thousands of years, allowing dense population in a region that would naturally be much less productive. The towns themselves show evidence of wealth generated by agricultural surplus and trade. Public buildings are constructed of fired brick rather than the simpler mud brick of village homes. Markets display a wider range of goods, including luxury items that indicate connection to distant trading networks. Religious buildings represent diverse faiths: Zoroastrian fire temples, Buddhist stupas, Nestorian Christian churches, and increasingly mosques, reflecting the gradual spread of Islam into the region. Your caravan stops for 2 days in Kokand, one of the valley's major cities. This pause allows animals to rest and traders to engage in local commerce. You take advantage of the opportunity to sell some of your remaining Chinese porcelain to local merchants who rarely travel themselves, but serve as distributors within the valley region. The profits are modest compared to what you might receive in Samarkand or points further west, but the sales lighten your cargo load and provide additional capital. Kokand offers other pleasures besides commercial opportunities. The city's bathhouses provide a level of luxury missing since Kashgar, with separate chambers for different water temperatures and attendants offering massage with scented oils. The markets sell fresh foods that have been unavailable during mountain travel, locally grown vegetables, fresh bread from clay tandoor ovens, and dairy products from the region's cattle and goats. Most welcome is the chance to sleep indoors on a proper bed in the caravanserai, free from concern about weather or predators. After months of travel, such simple comforts acquire extraordinary significance. You find yourself appreciating details that would have seemed unremarkable in your former life. The softness of a cotton-stuffed mattress, the convenience of a table and stool for writing in your journal, the luxury of abundant clean water for washing. The journey resumes with the caravan following the main road that has linked the Fergana Valley with Samarkand since ancient times. This route passes through increasingly densely populated areas, with villages sometimes visible simultaneously in multiple directions. Fields of wheat, barley, and rice stretch to the horizon, interspersed with orchards and vineyards. The road itself is busy with local traffic, farmers bringing produce to market, regional merchants with their donkey carts, official couriers riding fast horses on government business. The final approach to Samarkand takes the caravan through some of the richest agricultural land in Central Asia. Estates belonging to wealthy landowners and nobility feature elaborate country houses surrounded by gardens where water features demonstrate both practical irrigation skill and aesthetic sensibility. Workers in the fields stop their labor to watch your caravan pass, smaller children running alongside for short distances out of curiosity about these travelers from distant lands. Signs of Samarkand's proximity multiply. The road widens and shows evidence of regular maintenance. Way stations become more substantial and closer together. Military patrols appear occasionally. Sogdian soldiers, supplemented by Arab warriors, reflecting the growing influence of the Abbasid Caliphate in the region. Traffic on the road increases dramatically, with more frequent caravans moving in both directions and greater diversity of travelers. Finally, from the crest of a low hill, Samarkand itself comes into view in the distance. A sprawling city surrounded by massive walls, with the domes of public buildings rising above the general level of structures. Even from miles away, the sight is impressive. A tangible manifestation of the wealth generated by centuries of trade along the Silk Road. Bakshinvar, who has led your caravan since Chang'an, gathers the merchants for a brief council. Samarkand represents the end of his formal responsibility as caravan leader. From here, different members of the group will pursue their individual business interests or join other caravans heading to their ultimate destinations: Bukhara, Merv, Baghdad, Constantinople, or other points west. He provides advice about reputable caravanserais in the city, warns about neighborhoods known for criminal activity, and suggests reliable money changers and brokers who can help connect foreign merchants with local buyers. As the caravan makes its final approach to Samarkand's eastern gate, there's a palpable sense of accomplishment among the travelers. The journey from Chang'an has taken 4 months, covering approximately 2,500 miles across some of the world's most challenging terrain. Of the original 60 people who set out, 57 have completed the journey. 1 merchant died of illness in the desert, and 2 others turned back at Kashgar. All things considered, this represents a remarkably successful crossing. For you personally, reaching Samarkand marks the fulfillment of the journey's first phase. Here, you'll sell your remaining Chinese goods and acquire items valued in Tang China for the eventual return journey. But before focusing on commerce, you allow yourself to simply appreciate the achievement of having crossed mountains and deserts to reach this legendary city at the crossroads of civilization. As your camel carries you through Samarkand's massive gate, part of a procession that has been repeated countless times over centuries, feel the satisfaction of completing a significant portion of the ancient Silk Road. This sense of accomplishment can help deepen your relaxation now. As you breathe slowly and regularly, your body becoming increasingly heavy, your thoughts drifting peacefully. Allow yourself to experience this moment of arrival with our merchant, knowing that the wonders of Samarkand await exploration, and that your journey along the Silk Road continues to unfold in this historical sleep narrative. Samarkand, the golden road to Samarkand. Samarkand in the 8th century stands as one of the world's great cities, a cosmopolitan center where cultures, religions, and trade goods from across Eurasia converge. Located in a fertile oasis and strategically positioned at the intersection of routes connecting China, India, Persia, and points further west, the city has grown wealthy as a commercial hub while developing a distinctive cultural synthesis of its own. As we explore this legendary city with our merchant, take a deep breath in, hold it gently, and exhale completely. Feel your body becoming centered and relaxed as our historical journey continues through one of the Silk Road's most important destinations. Your caravan enters Samarkand through the eastern gate, part of the massive defensive walls that surround the city. These walls, built of packed earth faced with fired brick and rising nearly 30 feet high, extend for miles around the city's perimeter. The gate itself is an imposing structure, massive wooden doors reinforced with iron, flanked by towers where guards monitor all who enter and exit. The entry procedures are formal but efficient, reflecting Samarkand's experience with international trade. Officials examine travel documents, assess goods for taxation, and question new arrivals about their intentions in the city. Merchants are generally welcome, as commerce is Samarkand's lifeblood, but security remains a priority for the local rulers. Once inside the walls, the caravan makes its way through crowded streets toward one of the city's main caravanserais. Samarkand's layout is less rigidly organized than Chang'an's perfect grid, having grown organically over thousands of years with successive rebuildings. The streets form a complex network, with major avenues radiating from the central district toward the various gates, interconnected by countless smaller lanes and alleys. The architecture reflects both the prosperity of the city and its diverse influences. Most buildings are constructed of mud brick for the basic structure, with more expensive fired brick used for facades and decorative elements. Wooden columns and beams support flat roofs, often surrounded by parapets. Courtyards are common features, providing private outdoor space within the dense urban fabric. The overall impression is of a warm-toned city in shades of tan, ochre, and rust, punctuated by the blue and turquoise of glazed tile decoration on more important structures. Visualize Samarkand as it would have appeared in this golden age. The bustling streets filled with people in diverse clothing styles reflecting different cultural origins. The sounds of multiple languages, Sogdian, Persian, Turkish, Arabic, Chinese, and others, creating a linguistic tapestry. The sense of exotic spices from cooking fires, incense from temples, and perfumes from passing nobles. The visual richness of goods displayed in shops and markets, textiles, ceramics, metalwork, jewelry, foods, and medicines from across the known world. Allow these sensory impressions to deepen your connection to our historical journey while guiding you further into relaxation. Now take another deep breath, hold for 4 counts, and release slowly through slightly parted lips. Feel yourself becoming heavier, more at peace with each breath. If you're finding this historical sleep journey helpful, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us continue creating these immersive experiences to help you relax and drift into peaceful sleep. The caravanserai where your group finds lodging is larger and more elaborate than those encountered on the road. Built around a spacious courtyard, it provides secure storage for goods, stabling for animals, and comfortable rooms for merchants. The structure is 2 stories high, with balconies overlooking the central space where traders gather to exchange news and conduct informal business. The operators are Sogdians, who cater specifically to merchants trading with China, providing services like currency exchange, translation, and connections to local brokers. After securing your belongings and ensuring your animals are properly cared for, you set out to explore the city. Samarkand is renowned for its markets, each specializing in particular types of goods. The largest is the Registan, a vast square where major roads converge, surrounded by permanent shops with temporary stalls filling the central area. Here, merchants from across Asia and Europe display their wares, creating a commercial spectacle unrivaled in its diversity. Adjacent markets specialize in specific commodities, a covered bazaar for textiles where silk from China meets cotton from India and wool from the steppes, a cavernous space where metalworkers hammer out everything from practical tools to exquisite jewelry, open-air markets for livestock, produce, spices, and ceramics, and more discreet areas for particularly valuable items like precious stones or rare medicines. Beyond commerce, Samarkand offers other attractions. Public baths provide both practical hygiene and social gathering spaces. Tea houses serve as informal clubs where men gather to share news, play board games, and listen to musicians and storytellers. Religious buildings cater to the city's diverse spiritual communities. Zoroastrian fire temples, Buddhist monasteries, Nestorian Christian churches, Jewish synagogues, and increasingly mosques as Islam gradually spreads into the region. The following days establish your routine in Samarkand. Mornings are dedicated to business, meeting with brokers who can connect you with potential buyers for your remaining Chinese goods, examining merchandise you might purchase for the return journey to Chang'an, and visiting the city's banking houses to manage your finances. These financial institutions, primarily operated by Sogdian and Jewish merchants with international connections, can provide letters of credit that spare you the risk of carrying large amounts of physical currency. Paper, originally a Chinese invention, has reached Samarkand and begun to be produced locally, making record-keeping easier than in regions still using parchment or clay tablets. You maintain detailed accounts of your transactions, calculating profit margins and planning future purchases based on what you've learned about market conditions further west. Afternoons in the brutal summer heat are typically reserved for rest, with business resuming in the cooler evening hours. This schedule creates a distinctive rhythm to city life. Intense activity in the morning and evening, with a noticeable lull during midday when many retreat to cool interiors for light meals and naps. Evenings offer both continued commerce and leisure activities. The markets remain open late, illuminated by oil lamps and torches. Wealthy households host dinner gatherings where business discussions blend with cultural entertainment, music, poetry, and scholarly conversation. Public spaces come alive with performances by musicians, acrobats, storytellers, and other entertainers. The intellectual life of Samarkand reflects its position as a crossroads of civilizations. Scholars from different traditions meet in informal academies, translating texts between languages and synthesizing knowledge from disparate sources. This period sees particularly significant developments in mathematics, astronomy, medicine, and geography, as ideas from China, India, Greece, and Persia cross-fertilize. You witness this cosmopolitan culture during an evening visit to the home of a prominent Sogdian merchant with whom you've established a business relationship. His courtyard house in one of Samarkand's wealthy districts features reception rooms decorated with wall paintings showing scenes from Persian epics, furnished with carpets from various weaving traditions, and lit by Chinese porcelain oil lamps. The dinner gathering includes merchants from Persia, Arabia, and Byzantium, along with local Sogdian nobility. Conversation flows in multiple languages, with many attendees switching effortlessly between tongues. A musical ensemble plays instruments from different traditions: a Persian stringed instrument similar to a lute, Chinese-style flutes, and Central Asian drums, creating a unique fusion that symbolizes the cultural blending characteristic of Samarkand. Topics of discussion range from practical commercial matters to philosophical questions and political developments across the continent. You learn that the Tang Dynasty in China is facing challenges from Tibetan expansion, potentially affecting trade routes. The Abbasid Caliphate is consolidating power in the West, creating new commercial opportunities, but also religious and political changes. Maritime routes through the Indian Ocean are increasingly competing with the land-based Silk Road for certain types of trade. As the evening concludes, your host presents gifts to his guests, a common practice in Sogdian business culture where personal relationships underpin commercial transactions. You receive a small bronze mirror of local manufacture, its handle shaped like a pomegranate, a symbol of prosperity. In return, you present one of the few remaining pieces of Chinese porcelain you've reserved for such occasions, a gesture that both honors your host and subtly advertises the quality of your merchandise. Returning to your lodgings in the caravanserai, you pass through streets still active despite the late hour. Guards patrol at regular intervals, carrying lanterns and enforcing the relative peace. The city never completely sleeps. Bakers begin their work in the early hours, Travelers arrive and depart at all times, and certain markets operate on specialized schedules. In your room, you review the day's activities by lamplight, making notes in your journal and planning tomorrow's business. The space is comfortable by the standards of the journey. A proper bed with cotton mattress and linen sheets, a small table and stool, a washing basin, niches in the walls for storage, and a window overlooking the courtyard below, where the sounds of the caravanserai gradually quiet as night deepens. As you prepare for sleep, you reflect on Samarkand's unique position in the world. Neither fully Eastern nor Western, neither exclusively Muslim, Christian, Zoroastrian, nor Buddhist, the city represents a remarkable synthesis, a place where differences are not erased, but rather coexist and cross-pollinate, creating something greater than the sum of its parts. This cosmopolitan character embodies the best aspects of Silk Road culture, where commerce creates connections across vast distances and diverse civilizations. Allow yourself to drift into sleep, with our merchant, your body becoming heavier, your thoughts slowing, your breath finding a natural, peaceful rhythm. The sounds of Samarkand at night, distant music from a tea house, the call of a night watchman marking the hours, the soft conversations in the caravanserai courtyard create a gentle backdrop that has comforted travelers for centuries along the golden road to Samarkand. Preparing for the return journey. After several weeks in Samarkand, you begin preparations for the long journey back to Chang'an. The return trip follows essentially the same route, but with different challenges and opportunities. You're now traveling east instead of west, with a completely different cargo, and with the accumulated experience of months on the Silk Road to guide your decisions. As we join our merchant for these preparations, take a deep breath in, hold it gently, and exhale completely. Feel your body becoming centered and relaxed as our historical journey continues. Your time in Samarkand has been commercially successful. You've sold all your remaining Chinese goods at favorable prices, taking advantage of the premium that rare items from the land of Qin command in Central Asian markets. With the proceeds, you've carefully selected merchandise that will find ready buyers in Chang'an. Carpets from Persia with intricate designs impossible to replicate in China, glassware from Syria and Egypt in colors and forms unknown to Chinese craftsmen, lapis lazuli and other semi-precious stones from mines in what is now Afghanistan, spices from India that lose potency during the long sea voyage and thus command higher prices when transported by the faster land route. The most significant challenge in preparing for the return journey is properly packing these goods to survive the difficult terrain ahead. You've hired a local specialist who has developed techniques for protecting fragile items during caravan transport. Glass vessels are packed in wooden boxes with compartments shaped to hold each piece, lined with wool and straw for cushioning. Carpets are rolled around wooden cores, wrapped in oiled cloth to protect against moisture, and encased in leather coverings. Lapis lazuli and other stones are carried in small, strong boxes with each piece individually wrapped in soft cloth. Your financial arrangements involve complex calculations. Some of your profits from selling Chinese goods have been converted into silver coins of various origins, Sasanian drachms, Byzantine solidi, and Sogdian imitations of both. Others have been transferred via letters of credit that can be redeemed at banking houses in Kashgar, the last major commercial center before re-entering Chinese territory. This balanced approach protects you from both physical theft and the potential failure of any single financial institution. The composition of the caravan itself has changed significantly. Some merchants who traveled west with you from Chang'an are returning as well, but many new members join the group. These include Persian and Sogdian traders who regularly travel to China, several Buddhist monks from India heading to the great monasteries of Chang'an to study and translate texts, and official envoys from smaller Central Asian kingdoms bearing tribute and diplomatic correspondence for the Tang court. Visualize the bustling preparations taking place in the caravanserai courtyard. Camels kneeling as expertly wrapped packages are secured to their frames. Merchants reviewing inventory lists and conferring with caravan guides about the route ahead. Money changers with scales weighing different currencies. Animal handlers checking the condition of camels and horses after their rest in Samarkand. Allow these images to engage your imagination while deepening your relaxation. The timing of departure is carefully considered. The mountain passes will soon become difficult or impossible to cross as winter approaches. Ideally, the caravan should reach Kashgar before the first heavy snows and then wait there until early spring before attempting the desert crossing back to China. This schedule means leaving Samarkand by late summer to ensure sufficient time for the journey to Kashgar. Before departing, you make offerings at various religious sites around Samarkand, a personal spiritual practice, but also a practical acknowledgement of the very real dangers ahead. At a Buddhist temple, you donate oil for lamps illuminating sacred texts. At a Zoroastrian fire temple, you contribute fuel for the eternal flame. At a newly constructed mosque, you provide food for travelers. At each site, you request blessings for a safe journey, engaging with different religious traditions in the pragmatic manner common to many Silk Road merchants. You also attend to more practical spiritual matters, visiting a fortune teller renowned for providing guidance to travelers. The elderly woman casts copper coins onto a chart marked with symbolic images, studies their pattern intently, and advises you to exercise particular caution at river crossings. While you're not entirely convinced of her prophetic abilities, enough merchants report accurate predictions that you make a mental note of her warning. Final social obligations must be fulfilled as well. You host a modest meal for the local merchants and brokers with whom you've established relationships, solidifying connections that will be valuable on future journeys. Gifts are exchanged with careful attention to appropriate value and significance. The Sogdian merchant who has purchased most of your porcelain presents you with a silver drinking cup engraved with zoomorphic designs. The Jewish money changer who has handled your financial transactions gives you a small knife with a handle carved from deer antler. Each gift acknowledges your business relationship while establishing personal connections that transcend pure commerce. The evening before departure, the caravanserai hosts a gathering for all those joining the eastbound journey. The mood combines celebration and solemnity, excitement about returning home or exploring new territories, tempered by awareness of the dangers ahead. Musicians play farewell songs from different cultural traditions. More experienced travelers share advice with first-time crossers. The caravanserai keeper offers a formal blessing for the journey, a ritual he has performed countless times for countless caravans. That night, sleep comes fitfully as your mind reviews preparations and plans. Have you acquired the most profitable trade goods? Is everything packed securely? Have you made the right financial arrangements? Are your animals in good condition for the journey? These practical concerns mingle with larger questions about the purpose and meaning of your merchant life. The months spent away from home and family, the risks taken for material gain, the extraordinary experiences that few from your homeland will ever share. Dawn comes with the familiar sounds of a caravan preparing to depart, camels protesting as they're loaded, merchants calling final instructions, the metallic sounds of harness hardware being adjusted. The courtyard of the caravanserai is a scene of organized chaos as multiple groups prepare for journeys in different directions. Your own preparations are meticulous, reflecting lessons learned during the westward journey. The loading of camels is supervised carefully, ensuring balanced distribution of weight. Water containers are filled with fresh water from Samarkand's renowned springs. Food supplies for the first segment of the journey are packed accessibly. Extra padding is added to your saddle to reduce discomfort during long riding days. Your money and documents are distributed in hidden pockets and pouches sewn into your clothing and gear. As the caravan forms up outside Samarkand's northern gate, you take a moment to look back at the city that has been your home for nearly a month. The morning sun illuminates the domes and minarets rising above the general level of buildings. Market activities are already beginning in the streets. The massive walls with their defensive towers encircle this oasis of civilization in an often harsh landscape. You wonder if you'll ever see Samarkand again, a question every departing merchant must consider, given the dangers of the road ahead. The caravan master, a Sogdian veteran named Narasaf, who specializes in the eastern route to China, gives the signal to move out. Drums beat a steady rhythm as the long line of camels, horses, and people begins to move along the northern road. The city gates open fully to allow passage, guards checking documents one final time. Local people pause in their morning activities to watch the departing caravan, some waving to friends or family members, others simply observing the cycle of comings and goings that defines life in this crossroads city. As Samarkand recedes behind you, the familiar sensations of caravan travel return, the rhythmic swaying motion of riding, the creak of leather and wood, the jingle of harness bells, the soft, padded sound of camel feet on the packed earth road. These sensory experiences have become almost comforting in their familiarity, a constant in the changing landscapes of the Silk Road. The road ahead will retrace your westward journey, back through the Fergana Valley, over the Pamir Mountains, across the Taklamakan Desert, and finally through the Hexi corridor to Chang'an. But while the geography remains the same, the journey itself will be different. The seasons are changing, your cargo is entirely different, and you yourself have been transformed by your experiences thus far. Allow yourself to begin this return journey with our merchant, feeling the gentle swaying motion of riding, the rhythm of the caravan's movement, helping to guide you deeper into relaxation. As your breathing becomes slower and more regular, imagine the road stretching ahead, carrying you forward on this ancient path of commerce and cultural exchange that has connected civilizations for thousands of years. The first segment of the return journey takes the caravan eastward through the Fergana Valley, retracing the route you followed months earlier when traveling west. The late summer season paints the landscape in warmer tones. Golden wheat fields ready for harvest, orchards heavy with ripening fruit, meadows turn slightly brown from months of sun exposure. As we travel through this fertile valley with our merchant, take a deep breath in, hold it gently, and exhale completely. Feel your body becoming centered and relaxed as our historical journey continues along the ancient Silk Road. The caravan establishes a steady routine for the return journey. Days begin before sunrise with a simple meal of flatbread, dried fruit, and tea. The animals are loaded while the morning is still cool, and travel begins as the first light appears on the horizon. The group moves steadily until midday, when a substantial rest period allows animals and humans to recover during the hottest hours. Travel resumes in the late afternoon and continues until shortly before dusk, when camp is established for the night. This rhythm becomes almost meditative for experienced travelers, a daily cycle that remains consistent while the surrounding landscape gradually changes. Your body has fully adapted to the demands of caravan travel by now. Your muscles no longer ache from long hours of riding. Your skin has weathered and darkened from constant exposure to sun and wind. Your senses have sharpened to notice subtle details that might affect the journey. Changes in wind direction that could signal weather shifts, variations in terrain that might challenge the animals, signs of recent passage by other travelers. The Fergana Valley presents few challenges in terms of terrain. The roads are well maintained, water sources are plentiful, and villages appear at regular intervals offering supplies and accommodation. The greatest concern during this segment is actually the valley's prosperity. The abundant agricultural wealth attracts bandits who prey on caravans. The caravan guards maintain heightened vigilance, and travel is arranged to ensure arrivals at secure stopping points before darkness falls. Visualize the caravan making its way through this rich agricultural landscape. The line of heavily laden camels creating undulating patterns as they walk. The different clothing styles of the various cultural groups traveling together. Sogdian merchants in their distinctive pointed hats, Chinese travelers in long robes, Persian traders with elaborately wrapped turbans, the contrasting colors of cultivated fields alongside the dusty road. Allow these images to engage your imagination while deepening your relaxation. The eastbound caravan is larger than your westbound group was, comprising nearly 100 camels and about 70 people. The increased size provides better protection against bandits, but creates its own logistical challenges. Finding sufficient accommodation in smaller settlements can be difficult, sometimes requiring the group to split between multiple caravanserais or to camp outside village walls. Water sources must be accessed in shifts to avoid overwhelming local wells. The caravan master, Narasaf, sometimes sends scouts ahead to arrange for provisions at the next stopping point. The social dynamics of the caravan have their own fascinating patterns. Travelers naturally form smaller groups based on language, cultural background, or commercial interests. As a merchant who has already made the crossing from China, you find yourself in the curious position of being sought out for advice by first-time travelers, despite not being Central Asian yourself. Your experiences have earned you a measure of respect, and your assistant Davron's language skills make your group a natural nexus for information exchange. Evenings in camp become opportunities for such exchanges. Around cooking fires, merchants share insights about market conditions in different regions, monks discuss philosophical concepts that transcend cultural boundaries, and everyone trades practical advice about the challenges ahead. Stories are currency on the Silk Road, tales of extraordinary profits made on previous journeys, encounters with dangerous animals or weather conditions, interactions with local officials, both corrupt and honorable. As the caravan moves through the Fergana Valley, you notice differences from your westward journey through the same region. Political conditions have shifted slightly, with increased Arab influence evident in some areas. Local officials wear different styles of clothing and administrative practices show subtle changes. Markets feature new products reflecting seasonal availability. Even the attitudes of local people toward foreign merchants seem to vary, sometimes more welcoming, sometimes more suspicious, depending on recent experiences with other travelers. These observations remind you of the constant flux that characterizes the Silk Road. Despite the ancient nature of these trade routes, nothing remains static. Empires expand and contract, religious influences spread and evolve, economic conditions fluctuate, and even the physical landscape changes through natural processes and human intervention. The successful merchant must constantly adapt to these changes, finding opportunity in shifting circumstances rather than clinging to outdated information. One aspect of the return journey that differs significantly from the westward trip is your relationship with your trade goods. Traveling west, your cargo was entirely familiar: silk and porcelain from your homeland, products whose production methods and quality standards you understood intimately. Now your camels carry items from unfamiliar traditions: Persian carpets, Syrian glassware, lapis lazuli from Afghanistan, spices from India, whose true value and appeal in Chinese markets you must estimate based on secondhand information and previous experience. This uncertainty creates both anxiety and excitement. Have you chosen wisely? Will your selections find ready buyers in Chang'an? Are your goods properly protected for the difficult journey ahead? These questions occupy your mind during the long hours of riding, by calculations of potential profits and losses running in endless loops as the miles pass beneath your camel's feet. Villages and towns along the route offer opportunities to gather more current information about conditions ahead. At a substantial settlement in the eastern Fergana Valley, your caravan encounters a westbound group that has recently completed the mountain crossing from Kashgar. From them, you learn that early snow has already fallen at the highest elevations of the Pamir Range. This news prompts Narasaf to adjust the traveling schedule, increasing daily distances to ensure passage through the mountains before heavier snowfall makes certain passes impassable. The final days in the Fergana Valley show the landscape gradually transitioning, with the flat, fertile plains giving way to more rolling terrain as the mountains ahead grow larger on the horizon. Cultivation becomes less intensive, villages more widely spaced, the population density decreasing as the land becomes less hospitable to agriculture. Your evening routine has developed comforting familiarity, supervising the unloading of your cargo animals, ensuring your trade goods are properly stored for the night, sharing a meal with fellow travelers, writing in your journal by lamplight to record the day's events and observations, checking your maps to anticipate the challenges of the next day's journey. These repeated actions create a structure that helps manage the uncertainties of life on the road. Returning through the Fergana Valley. As you prepare for sleep on the final night in the Fergana Valley, the sounds around you reflect the caravan at rest. Quiet conversations in multiple languages, the soft movements of animals settling for the night, the whisper of wind through the trees surrounding the caravanserai, the occasional call of a night bird. Tomorrow will bring the beginning of the mountain crossing, with its particular challenges and dangers. But for now, there is the comfort of shelter, the satisfaction of another day's successful journey, and the promise of rest. Allow yourself to drift into sleep with our merchant, your body becoming heavier, your thoughts slowing, your breath finding a natural, peaceful rhythm after a day on the ancient Silk Road. The gentle sounds of the caravan at rest can help guide you deeper into relaxation now, as your breathing becomes slower and more regular, your thoughts more distant, your body more at peace. Crossing the Pamirs eastward. The transition from the Fergana Valley to the Pamir Mountains is gradual at first, then increasingly dramatic. The relatively flat valley floor gives way to foothills, then to steeper slopes and narrower valleys. Vegetation changes with elevation. Cultivated fields yield to natural meadows, then to sparse alpine growth, and finally, above certain elevations, to rocky terrain where only the hardiest plants survive in protected niches. As we join our merchant for this challenging mountain crossing, take a deep breath in, hold it gently, and exhale completely. Feel your body becoming centered and relaxed as our historical journey continues along one of the most difficult sections of the ancient Silk Road. The caravan has adjusted its composition for the mountain passage. Some merchants with particularly fragile cargo have arranged to remain in the last substantial town before the mountains, waiting for more favorable conditions later in the season. Additional mountain guides have been hired, men from local Kyrgyz and Tajik communities who know passes intimately in all seasons. Extra pack animals carry supplies specifically for mountain travel, additional fodder for the animals, cold weather clothing and bedding for the travelers, and emergency provisions in case the journey takes longer than anticipated due to weather conditions. The route follows river valleys where possible, tracing the natural passages through the mountains. These river courses have carved paths through the range over geological time, creating corridors that human travelers have used for thousands of years. The trails often cling to valley sides, sometimes cutting into the slope to create a level path, other times built up with supporting structures where the terrain falls away steeply. Early autumn in the Pamirs brings particular challenges. Days can still be quite warm at lower elevations, but nights grow increasingly cold as the season advances. At higher elevations, freezing temperatures are common even during daylight hours. Storms become more frequent and less predictable, sometimes bringing rain at lower elevations and snow higher up. The mountain guides study the sky constantly, reading subtle signs of weather changes in cloud patterns and wind shifts. Visualize the caravan making its way through this dramatic landscape. The line of camels and horses appearing tiny against the vast scale of the mountains. Peaks rising to over 20,000 feet, their upper portions permanently snow-covered. Valleys carved by ancient glaciers, their sides almost vertical in places. Rivers fed by mountain springs and snowmelt, sometimes gentle streams, other times raging torrents depending on recent precipitation. Allow these majestic images to fill your imagination while deepening your relaxation. Now take another deep breath. Hold for 4 counts and release slowly through slightly parted lips. Feel yourself becoming heavier, more at peace with each breath. If you're enjoying this historical sleep journey, I'd appreciate it if you'd take a moment to like this video. Your support helps our channel reach more people who might benefit from these soothing historical narratives. The mountain crossing requires a different daily routine from travel in more forgiving terrain. The caravan begins moving later in the morning, waiting for the sun to take some of the chill from the air and to illuminate the trail clearly. Rest stops are shorter and more frequent, allowing animals to recover their breath in the thin mountain air without cooling down too much. Travel ends earlier, providing time to establish secure camps before darkness falls and temperatures drop dramatically. Water is paradoxically both abundant and challenging in the mountains. Streams and rivers are plentiful, fed by glacial melt and springs, but crossing these waterways presents significant dangers. Early autumn brings higher water levels as the day's sun melts snow at higher elevations. Some rivers must be forded directly, requiring careful selection of crossing points where the water is shallow enough and the current less powerful. Others are spanned by bridges of various types, simple structures of logs and stones built by local communities, hanging bridges made of ropes, and wooden slats maintained by nearby villages who collect tolls from passing caravans, or occasionally more substantial structures on main routes that have been built by regional authorities to facilitate trade. One river crossing proves particularly harrowing. Recent rains have swollen a usually manageable stream into a rushing torrent that has damaged the simple log bridge at the established crossing point. The caravan is forced to split into smaller groups, with local guides leading each animal individually across the precarious remaining structure. The process takes hours, with everyone holding their breath as each heavily laden camel carefully picks its way across the makeshift span. You recall the fortune teller's warning in Samarkand about river crossings, wondering if this was the danger she foresaw. The ascent toward the highest pass becomes increasingly challenging. The trail narrows in many sections, requiring single-file travel. The thin air makes both humans and animals tire more quickly, necessitating frequent rest stops. The camels, though struggling with the elevation, still perform better than horses would on the limited vegetation available, confirming the wisdom of Central Asian travelers who have long preferred these animals for the most difficult routes. Signs of previous travelers appear regularly along the route. Cairns of stones marking the trail where it might be obscured by snow, crude shelters built in protected locations for emergency use, occasional inscriptions or symbols carved into rocks by merchants, pilgrims, or soldiers who passed this way in earlier times. These reminders of human passage through this seemingly inhospitable terrain provide both practical guidance and psychological comfort, a connection to the countless others who have faced these same challenges over thousands of years. The actual crossing of the highest pass occurs during a brief window of clear weather. The caravan makes camp below the final ascent, planning to cross the pass in a single push the following day. That evening, the mountain guides perform traditional ceremonies seeking favorable conditions, burning juniper branches and offering food to the mountain spirits. Though many members of the caravan follow formal religions that might officially disapprove of such practices, few object to these ancient rituals. The mountains demand their own forms of respect. Dawn reveals clear skies and relatively calm winds, optimal conditions for the crossing. The caravan sets out early, wanting to complete the most dangerous section before any weather changes can develop. The final approach to the pass is the steepest yet, requiring dismounting and leading the animals in the most difficult sections. The thin air makes every movement demanding, with frequent pauses needed simply to catch your breath. The pass itself is marked by prayer flags and stone cairns, some bearing inscriptions in various languages asking for blessings or commemorating those who did not survive the journey. From this vantage point, over 15,000 feet above sea level, the view extends for incredible distances. Endless mountain ranges in all directions, valleys carved by ancient glaciers, and the thin line of the trail you followed visible far below. Despite the physical discomfort of the elevation, there's a moment of profound appreciation for the privilege of experiencing this perspective that relatively few humans will ever share. The descent from the pass brings different challenges from the ascent. The trail on the eastern side is steeper in many sections, with loose rock creating treacherous footing. Camels are naturally more uncomfortable moving downhill, requiring constant attention from their handlers to prevent falls or injuries. The caravan moves with extreme caution, often with guides walking ahead of animals to test the stability of the path. Weather becomes a factor during the descent, with clouds moving in rapidly and bringing a mixture of rain and snow that reduces visibility and makes the trail slippery. The mountain guides urge greater speed despite the difficult conditions, knowing that heavier precipitation may follow, and wanting to reach lower elevations before that happens. The tension between the need for careful movement on the dangerous terrain and the pressure to move quickly creates a particular type of stress familiar to mountain travelers throughout history. By late afternoon, the caravan reaches a protected valley at lower elevation where several simple stone shelters provide minimal but welcome protection from the elements. The snow has changed to steady rain, and everyone works quickly to establish camp before darkness falls. Pack covers are arranged to create additional shelter, fires are lit using the limited fuel available at this elevation, and hot tea is prepared to ward off the chill that has penetrated clothing and bodies during the descent. Despite the physical discomfort, there's a shared sense of accomplishment among the travelers. The highest and most dangerous pass has been crossed successfully, and while many challenges remain, the route ahead will gradually descend to more hospitable elevations. Conversations that night center on gratitude for safe passage and anticipation of reaching Kashgar, the next major destination where proper rest and resupply will be possible. As you settle into your sleeping furs, your body aches from the day's exertions, but there's a deep satisfaction in having met the challenge. The mountain air, though cold, has a purity that makes each breath feel cleansing. The sound of rain on the stone shelter creates a soothing backdrop, as exhaustion ensures that sleep will come quickly, despite the hard ground beneath you. Allow yourself to drift into sleep with our merchant, your body becoming heavier, your thoughts slowing, your breath finding a natural, peaceful rhythm after a day of meeting the challenges of the ancient Silk Road's highest passages. The gentle sound of rainfall can help guide you deeper into relaxation now, as your breathing becomes slower and more regular, your thoughts more distant, your body more at peace. Kashgar preparing for the desert crossing. After nearly 3 weeks of challenging mountain travel, the caravan descends into increasingly hospitable terrain. Vegetation becomes more abundant, temperatures moderate, and signs of human habitation appear with greater frequency. Finally, from a low rise, Kashgar comes into view in the distance, the same oasis city that marked the western edge of the Taklamakan Desert on your outward journey, now seen from the opposite direction. As we accompany our merchant back to this crucial Silk Road crossroads, take a deep breath in, hold it gently, and exhale completely. Feel your body becoming centered and relaxed as our historical journey continues. Kashgar appears as a green island in a sea of beige and brown, its irrigated fields and orchards creating a dramatic contrast with the surrounding arid landscape. The city walls rise from the plain, massive ramparts of tamped earth faced with fired brick, enclosing a dense urban area where buildings of mud brick with flat roofs create a distinctive architectural profile. Minarets and domed structures rise above the general level, indicating important public buildings and religious sites. The approach to the city follows a well-maintained road through agricultural areas where farmers tend their fields using irrigation techniques perfected over thousands of years. Channels direct water from mountain streams to support cultivation that would otherwise be impossible in this arid region. Orchards of apricot, peach, and mulberry trees alternate with fields of wheat, corn, and melons. The late autumn season means harvest is underway, with families working together to gather crops before winter arrives. The caravan enters Kashgar through the western gate, where officials examine travel documents and assess goods for taxation. These procedures are familiar from your previous visit, though you notice subtle changes in the administration. Arab influence has grown even in the few months since your westward journey, with more officials wearing styles associated with the expanding Abbasid Caliphate and some administrative practices showing adaptation to Islamic governance. Visualize this return to Kashgar after the mountain crossing, the relief of reaching a major urban center after weeks in rugged terrain. The contrast between the natural environment of the mountains and the entirely human-shaped landscape of the oasis city. The sensory richness of returning to civilization, more complex sounds of urban activity, diverse scents from cooking fires and markets, visual stimulation from architecture and clothing styles, the physical comfort of proper accommodations after nights spent in basic mountain shelters. Allow these impressions to engage your imagination while deepening your relaxation. The caravan disbands temporarily in Kashgar, with plans to reform in approximately 3 weeks for the desert crossing. Many merchants, including yourself, secure lodging in the same caravanserai used during the westward journey, a substantial 2-story structure built around a central courtyard, operated by a Sogdian family who cater specifically to long-distance traders. Your relationship with the proprietors, established during your previous stay, ensures you receive one of the better rooms overlooking the inner courtyard rather than the street. Kashgar represents an important transition point on the journey. Having successfully crossed the mountains before winter conditions made the passes impassable, the caravan now faces a different calculation regarding the desert crossing ahead. The Taklamakan is actually easier to traverse during the winter months. The extreme summer heat is absent, water requirements for both humans and animals are reduced, and while nights can be bitterly cold, proper preparation makes this manageable. The main concern is occasional winter storms that can reduce visibility, but experienced guides can usually anticipate these and find appropriate shelter. Your primary tasks in Kashgar involve preparing specifically for desert conditions. All water containers are thoroughly checked for leaks and repaired or replaced as necessary. Additional felt padding is acquired for the camels to protect them from the cold ground during night stops. Winter clothing is purchased or traded for heavy felted wool coats, fur-lined boots, and headgear that can cover the face during sandstorms or extreme cold. Food supplies are selected for their ability to withstand freezing temperatures and provide adequate calories in cold conditions. Beyond these practical preparations, Kashgar offers welcome opportunities for rest and recovery after the mountain crossing. The city's bathhouses provide proper washing facilities, a luxury impossible during weeks of mountain travel, where water was primarily reserved for drinking. Barbers offer services ranging from simple haircuts to elaborate grooming rituals, including facial massage and ear cleaning with specialized tools. For those who can afford it, healers provide treatments for various travel-related ailments, herbal remedies for digestive issues, salves for windburned skin, acupuncture for muscle pains. Let's take a moment for another relaxing breath cycle. Breathe in slowly, filling your lungs completely. Hold your breath gently. And exhale through slightly parted lips. The markets of Kashgar provide opportunities to conduct some intermediate trading rather than simply waiting for the journey to resume. You find buyers for some of your smaller lapis lazuli pieces among local jewelers who create settings of silver and gold. The profit is modest compared to what these stones would fetch in Chang'an, but the reduction in weight is advantageous for the desert crossing ahead, and the additional capital allows you to invest in goods particularly valued in China. Jade from the nearby Kunlun Mountains, highly prized in Chinese culture for its symbolic associations with virtue and immortality. During your stay in Kashgar, you observe more evidence of the gradual cultural and political transitions occurring across Central Asia. The Arab conquests that established the Umayyad and now the Abbasid Caliphate have extended influence deep into traditionally Persian, Sogdian, and Turkic territories. Islam is spreading along the Silk Road, though more through gradual conversion than forced change. You notice more mosques than during your previous visit, Arabic script appearing on more buildings and documents, and subtle shifts in clothing styles, food customs, and administrative practices. These observations reinforce your understanding of the Silk Road as a conduit not just for trade goods, but for ideas, technologies, artistic styles, and religious concepts. Buddhism traveled this route from India to China centuries earlier, transforming both the religion itself and the cultures it encountered. Zoroastrianism, Manichaeism, Nestorian Christianity, and now Islam follow similar patterns of transmission, adapting to local conditions while introducing new elements to existing cultural frameworks. The evenings in Kashgar provide opportunities for gathering information vital to the next stage of the journey. In the tea houses and caravanserais, travelers exchange news about conditions along different routes. A merchant recently arrived from the east reports that the Tang military presence along the Hexi corridor has increased in response to raids by Tibetan forces, potentially affecting the safety and taxation policies along that segment of the return route. Another traveler describes unusual autumn sandstorms in the western Taklamakan that have obscured some of the usual landmarks. Such intelligence influences both route planning and timing decisions. As the departure date for the desert crossing approaches, the caravan reconstitutes with some changes in composition. Some merchants who crossed the mountains with your group have decided to winter in Kashgar rather than risk the desert journey, planning to continue in spring when conditions might be more favorable. Others join the eastbound caravan, including traders who have completed their business in Kashgar and Buddhist pilgrims returning to China after visits to sacred sites in India. The night before departure, a formal meal is hosted by Narasaf, the caravan leader. This serves both social and practical purposes, strengthening the bonds between travelers who will depend on each other in the challenging environment ahead, while providing an opportunity to communicate important procedural information. Narasaf, who has led caravans across the Taklamakan more than 50 times in all seasons, explains the particular protocols for winter crossing, the modified daily schedule, emergency procedures for sandstorms, the importance of checking fellow travelers for signs of cold-related illness. After the meal, you return to your room in the caravanserai to complete final preparations. Your trade goods are securely packed and organized for efficient loading in the pre-dawn darkness. Your travel clothing is laid out, layers that can be adjusted as temperatures change throughout the day. Your personal items are reduced to the minimum necessary, with every object evaluated for its essential utility, given the weight constraints of desert travel. As you settle onto the platform bed for your last night in proper accommodations before weeks of camping, you mentally review the journey thus far. From Chang'an, through the Hexi corridor, across the Taklamakan to Kashgar, through the Fergana Valley to Samarkand, and now reversing that monumental path. You've already traveled further than most people of your era will in their entire lives. The commercial calculations that initially motivated the journey have been supplemented by experiences that have changed your understanding of the world and your place in it. Allow yourself to drift into sleep with our merchant, your body becoming heavier, your thoughts slowing, your breath finding a natural, peaceful rhythm. The sounds of Kashgar at night, distant conversations in the caravanserai courtyard, the call of a muezzin marking the late prayer time, the occasional barking of dogs in the streets, create a gentle backdrop as you prepare for the next challenging segment of the Silk Road journey. Winter crossing of the Taklamakan dawn comes late in early winter, with the first pale light appearing around 7 a.m. The caravan assembles in darkness outside Kashgar's eastern gate, lanterns and torches illuminating the final loading of camels and last-minute adjustments to cargo. Breath forms visible clouds in the cold air as travelers and animals prepare for the challenging journey ahead. As we join our merchant for this winter desert crossing, take a deep breath in. Hold it gently and exhale completely. Feel your body becoming centered and relaxed as our historical journey continues along one of the most dangerous sections of the ancient Silk Road. The caravan moves out as the first true light appears on the eastern horizon, following the same general route you took months earlier when traveling westward. The initial days trace the northern edge of the Taklamakan, keeping relatively close to the foothills of the Tian Shan Mountains, where occasional streams provide crucial water sources. Winter transforms the desert landscape. The temperature range is extreme, bitterly cold at night, often well below freezing, moderating to merely cool during daylight hours. The air is exceptionally dry, causing skin to crack and lips to bleed if not protected with oils or animal fat. The quality of light is distinctive, extraordinarily clear when no dust is suspended in the atmosphere, creating visibility that extends for miles across the stark terrain. The winter crossing follows a modified daily rhythm from the summer journey. The caravan sets out later in the morning, waiting for temperatures to rise somewhat from the overnight lows. Travel continues through midday, with only brief stops since heat exhaustion is not a concern in these conditions. Camp is established earlier, allowing time to construct more substantial shelters against the evening cold and to gather what little fuel might be available for fires. Visualize this winter desert journey. The line of camels creating tracks across frost-covered sand in the early morning. Travelers wrapped in layers of wool, fur, and leather, with only their eyes visible beneath protective headgear. The stark beauty of the landscape, rippled dunes capturing the low angle of winter sunlight, creating patterns of light and shadow that change throughout the day. The brilliant stars visible each night, seeming close enough to touch in the crystal-clear desert air. Allow these images to engage your imagination while deepening your relaxation. The desert presents different challenges in winter than in summer. While the reduced water requirements are advantageous, the cold brings its own dangers. Travelers must be vigilant for signs of frostbite on exposed skin, particularly on the face, where awareness of damage may come too late. The risk of hypothermia becomes serious if clothing becomes wet from unexpected rain or snow and cannot dry quickly in the arid conditions. Even the simple act of making camp requires more effort, as stakes cannot easily penetrate frozen ground and basic tasks become difficult with cold-numbed fingers. Camels, remarkably adaptable animals, handle the winter conditions differently than the summer heat. Their thick winter coats provide excellent insulation, and they actually perform better in terms of endurance when not facing extreme heat. However, they require more food to maintain body warmth, and finding adequate forage becomes a significant concern. The caravan carries supplemental feed, compressed cakes of grain, dried vegetation, and oilseed residue to ensure the animals maintain their strength throughout the journey. Water management involves entirely different considerations from summer travel. Sources that might be dried up or barely usable in summer often flow more substantially in winter due to reduced evaporation. However, the risk of finding water sources frozen or partially frozen introduces new complications. The caravan carries metal containers that can be used to melt ice or snow if necessary, though this requires precious fuel and time. The landmarks that guide desert travel remain the same in winter. Distinctive rock formations, the occasional oasis with its cluster of hardy vegetation, ancient cairns built by previous travelers to mark the route. But winter weather can reduce visibility dramatically during storms, making navigation more challenging. The caravan's guide, a Uyghur man named Mahmud, who has crossed the Taklamakan more than 60 times in all seasons, pays careful attention to subtle indicators that might signal changing conditions, particular cloud formations, shifts in wind direction, the behavior of desert wildlife. Approximately a week into the desert crossing, the caravan experiences its first winter storm. The warning signs appear by mid-morning: a band of clouds on the northern horizon, birds flying low, a subtle shift in the air pressure that experienced desert travelers can feel rather than articulate. Mahmud confers with Narasaf, and the decision is made to make camp immediately rather than trying to reach the planned stopping point, which would require several more hours of travel. The storm preparation is methodical and urgent. The camels are arranged in a rough circle, kneeling with their backs to the anticipated wind direction. Tents are set up in the protected space within this circle, with extra stakes and ropes to secure them against strong gusts. All water containers are brought inside the tents to prevent freezing. Additional layers of felted wool blankets are distributed to provide extra insulation during what will likely be an unusually cold night. When the storm arrives, it comes with surprising speed. A wall of wind-driven sand and snow that reduces visibility to arm's length within minutes. Inside your tent, the noise is disorienting, sometimes a low moan, sometimes a high-pitched whistle as the wind finds different paths through the camp. Sand finds its way through every tiny opening, coating your skin, your clothing, your trade goods. The temperature drops dramatically, making the interior of the tent cold enough to see your breath, despite the body heat of several people sharing the space. The storm lasts through the night and into the following day, forcing an unplanned rest day as exhausted travelers and animals recover and equipment is cleaned and repaired. This delay is anticipated in the overall journey planning. Experienced caravan leaders always build extra time into their schedules, knowing that such weather events are inevitable. The desert crossing that might take 2 weeks in perfect conditions is allotted 3 or even 4 weeks in practical planning. As the journey continues after the storm passes, you observe how this harsh environment strips away pretensions and reveals true character. Status distinctions that might seem important in urban settings become meaningless when survival depends on cooperation. You've seen wealthy merchants share their water with humble servants when supplies ran low. You've witnessed the stoicism of the guides who face these conditions as a way of life rather than a temporary challenge. You've discovered reserves of endurance in yourself that you never knew existed. The winter desert nights create a particular type of camaraderie among travelers. The bitter cold forces people to gather closely around small fires, sharing warmth and conversation. Stories are exchanged, tales of previous journeys, legends of desert spirits and lost caravans, news from distant lands, personal histories. In this environment with no possibility of privacy, travelers develop a special intimacy while simultaneously maintaining the reserve appropriate to people who must cooperate but may have different ultimate destinations and interests. One night, under a spectacular canopy of stars, an elderly Persian merchant shares a story that captures the essence of Silk Road philosophy. He speaks of a caravan caught in a terrible sandstorm where all seemed lost. When the storm finally passed, the survivors discovered that their carefully mapped route was now meaningless. Landmarks buried, water sources possibly destroyed, all familiar reference points gone. Their guide suggested a radical solution: to abandon the intended path entirely and travel directly toward a destination that might not be where they originally intended to go, but where survival would be possible. And this, the old merchant concludes, is the wisdom of the desert. Sometimes the path you planned is not the path you must take. The successful traveler is not the one who follows the map precisely, but the one who reaches a destination where life can continue. This philosophy resonates with your own Silk Road experiences. The journey from Chang'an to Samarkand and back is not simply a linear movement through physical space, but a complex navigation through changing political conditions, diverse cultural contexts, variable market forces, and unpredictable natural environments. Flexibility and adaptation prove more valuable than rigid adherence to predetermined plans. After approximately 2 weeks of desert travel, the landscape begins to show subtle changes. The terrain becomes less purely sandy, with more rocky areas and occasional patches of hardy vegetation. Small streams appear, fed by snowmelt from distant mountains. Bird life becomes more abundant. Not just the hardy desert ravens, but smaller songbirds and waterfowl near the streams. These are the signs that you're approaching Dunhuang, the oasis that marks the eastern edge of the Taklamakan Desert. Allow yourself to anticipate this transition with our merchant, feeling relief at completing another challenging segment of the Silk Road journey. Let the rhythmic swaying motion of camel travel help guide you deeper into relaxation now. As your breathing becomes slower and more regular, your thoughts more distant, your body heavier, and more at peace with each breath. Dunhuang, Art and Spirituality on the Silk Road. After weeks crossing the Taklamakan Desert, the green oasis of Dunhuang appears on the horizon like a mirage, but one that resolves into solid reality as the caravan approaches. This crucial way station, located at the eastern edge of the desert, where the northern and southern routes of the Silk Road converge, has developed into much more than a simple trading post. It is a center of religious devotion, artistic creation, and cultural exchange, anchored by the remarkable complex of Buddhist cave temples known as the Mogao Caves. As we arrive with our merchant at this extraordinary site, take a deep breath in, hold it gently, and exhale completely. Feel your body becoming centered and relaxed as our historical journey continues to one of the most spiritually significant locations on the ancient Silk Road. Dunhuang appears first as a splash of green against the beige desert landscape, thousands of poplar and elm trees surrounding a crescent-shaped lake fed by mountain streams. The contrast between this vibrant oasis and the barren terrain you've traversed for weeks creates an almost physical sense of relief. The city itself comes into view, substantial walls surrounding a settlement that has grown wealthy from trade and religious patronage. Most striking are the Mogao Caves visible in the distance, a complex of hundreds of temple grottos carved into the sandstone cliffs. These caves house thousands of Buddhist paintings and sculptures created over the course of nearly 1,000 years by artists seeking merit through religious devotion. Even from a distance, the decorated entrances to some of the larger caves are visible with their colorful paint and architectural embellishments. The caravan enters Dunhuang through the western gate, joining the diverse flow of humanity that makes this desert crossroads so vibrant. Here, Chinese merchants meet their Sogdian, Tocharian, and Persian counterparts. Buddhist pilgrims from Korea and Japan encounter monks from India and Tibet. Official envoys from the Tang court cross paths with ambassadors from distant kingdoms. Visualize this ancient oasis city as it would have appeared in the 8th century. The earthen walls rising from the dusty plain, the green belt of cultivated land surrounding it, the colorful flags and banners flying from temples and official buildings, the caves with their painted entrances visible in the nearby cliffs. Allow these images to engage your imagination while deepening your relaxation. If you're finding this historical sleep journey helpful, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us continue creating these immersive experiences to help you relax and drift into peaceful sleep. The caravan will pause in Dunhuang for several days, a chance for travelers and animals to recover from the desert crossing while making preparations for the final segment of the journey through the Hexi corridor to Chang'an. You secure lodging in a 2-story inn built around a central courtyard, the same establishment where you stayed during your westward journey months earlier. The innkeeper recognizes you, a sign of the interconnected nature of Silk Road society, where relationships formed on previous journeys become valuable social capital. Your first priority is to visit one of Dunhuang's renowned bathhouses. For a few copper coins, you enjoy your first proper bath since Kashgar. The bathhouse is a social institution as much as a practical one. In the communal soaking room, merchants exchange gossip and information about conditions ahead, while attendants serve tea and small dishes of dried fruits. The hot water seems to dissolve away weeks of accumulated desert grime, along with the physical tension of constant vigilance required for safe passage. Clean and refreshed, you turn your attention to both practical and spiritual matters. Practically, the stop in Dunhuang allows for maintenance of equipment that has suffered during desert travel. Repairs to saddlebags and water containers, replacement of worn ropes and straps, treatment of any injuries or sores on the camels. It also provides an opportunity to assess your trade goods, ensuring they have survived the crossing without damage and making any necessary repacking adjustments. Spiritually, Dunhuang offers something unique on the Silk Road: the chance to witness and participate in the extraordinary flowering of Buddhist art and devotion that has transformed this oasis into a sacred center. Though not personally a Buddhist, you join many other merchants in making offerings at the temples and visiting the cave complexes, both out of cultural curiosity and the pragmatic recognition that divine protection is welcome regardless of its source. The Mogao Caves represent one of humanity's greatest artistic achievements, a complex of nearly 500 temple grottos carved into sandstone cliffs, their interiors covered with paintings depicting Buddhist teachings and filled with sculptures of remarkable craftsmanship. The caves have been created over centuries, with new ones constantly being added by wealthy patrons seeking spiritual merit and older ones being renovated or expanded. Visiting the caves requires arrangements with the Buddhist monastic community that maintains the complex. For a suitable donation, a monk serves as guide, leading you through selected caves with a butter lamp that illuminates the extraordinary artworks within. The paintings cover every available surface: walls, ceilings, and even the spaces around doorways. They depict scenes from the Buddha's life, illustrations of sutras, images of bodhisattvas and heavenly realms, and sometimes portraits of donors who funded the cave's creation. The artistic styles reflect the cultural crossroads nature of Dunhuang. Earlier caves show stronger Indian and Central Asian influences in their aesthetic approach. Later ones incorporate more Chinese artistic traditions. Some display clear evidence of influences from as far away as Persia in their decorative motifs. The sculptures similarly range from Indian-inspired representations of the Buddha to distinctively Chinese interpretations of bodhisattvas and guardians. Beyond their artistic significance, the caves function as physical manifestations of the transmission of Buddhism along the Silk Road. The religion originated in India, traveled through Central Asia with merchants and missionaries, and eventually reached China, where it merged with and was transformed by existing philosophical traditions. Dunhuang stands at a crucial juncture in this journey, where texts were translated from Sanskrit to Chinese, and artistic representations evolved to speak to new cultural contexts. The caves are not simply museums or artistic showcases, but active religious sites. Monks perform rituals in the larger temple caves, pilgrims prostrate themselves before particularly sacred images, and the soft chanting of sutras creates a meditative atmosphere throughout the complex. Even non-Buddhist visitors find themselves speaking in hushed tones, affected by the accumulated devotion of centuries. The evening after your cave visit, you join several other merchants for a meal at a restaurant known for its unique culinary synthesis. Dishes that combine Chinese cooking techniques with Central Asian ingredients and spices. The conversation turns to the relationship between commerce and culture on the Silk Road. An elderly Sogdian merchant observes that while they all travel primarily for profit, the most significant exchanges may not be the goods they carry, but the ideas, technologies, and artistic techniques that move with them almost incidentally. "We think we are trading silk and spices," he says, gesturing toward the caves visible on the cliffs outside the city. "But perhaps what truly matters is that we carry sutras in our caravans, and mathematical concepts and musical instruments, and stories that change how people understand themselves and their world." This perspective resonates with your own experiences. You've witnessed how Chinese paper has transformed record-keeping in Central Asia, how Persian astronomical knowledge has enhanced Chinese calendar systems, how Buddhist concepts have influenced Confucian thought, and how artistic motifs have traveled in all directions, creating new aesthetic syntheses wherever they land. As you prepare to depart Dunhuang for the final segment of the journey back to Chang'an, you take time for one last visit to a particular cave that made a strong impression during your initial tour. Unlike the larger, more elaborate grottos funded by wealthy patrons, this modest space was created by merchants like yourself who pooled their resources to commission a single painted Buddha and simple decorative elements. An inscription near the entrance lists the donors, traders from Sogdia, Persia, Korea, and various Chinese regions who contributed to the cave's creation despite their different origins and probably different primary religious affiliations. Their joint effort stands as a testament to the sense of shared identity that can develop among those who travel the Silk Road. A community defined not by origin or destination, but by the journey itself. In your room at the inn, you make final preparations for the remaining journey through the Hexi corridor to Chang'an. Winter has fully arrived, making travel challenging but still possible along this relatively well-maintained route. Your trade goods, the carpets, glassware, lapis lazuli, and spices acquired in Samarkand and supplemented with jade purchased in Kashgar, remain in good condition, promising substantial profits when you finally reach the markets of the Tang capital. As you settle onto the platform bed for your last night in Dunhuang, appreciate the comfort of a real mattress and clean bedding, luxuries you won't experience again for several weeks. Listen to the night sounds of this oasis city, distant chanting from the monasteries, the calls of night watchmen marking the hours, the soft conversations of fellow travelers in the courtyard below. These human sounds will soon give way to the vast emptiness of the final stages of your journey along the ancient Silk Road. Allow yourself to drift into sleep with our merchant, your body becoming heavier, your thoughts slowing, your breath finding a natural, peaceful rhythm after experiencing the artistic and spiritual wonders of Dunhuang, this extraordinary crossroads of commerce and culture. The Hexi Corridor, final approach to Chang'an. The caravan departs Dunhuang through the eastern gate, beginning the final major segment of the journey back to Chang'an. This route follows the Hexi Corridor, a narrow strip of relatively flat, traversable land bounded by the Gobi Desert to the north and the Chilean Mountains to the south. For centuries, this natural passage has served as the main artery connecting China with Central Asia, a crucial section of the Silk Road, regardless of which desert route travelers followed further west. As we join our merchant for this concluding portion of the great journey, take a deep breath in, hold it gently, and exhale completely. Feel your body becoming centered and relaxed as our historical sleep narrative approaches its culmination. Winter has fully established itself, transforming the landscape and the experience of travel. The temperature rarely rises above freezing even during daylight hours, and nights bring bitter cold that tests the limits of available clothing and bedding. The ground is often frozen hard, making the setting and removing of tent stakes a challenging task. Water sources must be carefully monitored to ensure they haven't frozen solid, sometimes requiring the breaking of ice to access the liquid beneath. The caravan adapts its routine to these conditions. Travel begins later in the morning, after the sun has taken some of the edge off the overnight cold. Rest stops are briefer, but more frequent, allowing travelers to move enough to maintain warmth without becoming exhausted. Camp is established earlier, providing time to gather what fuel might be available and to construct more substantial shelters than would be needed in milder weather. Despite these challenges, the Hexi Corridor offers significant advantages over the terrain already traversed. The route is well established and regularly traveled, reducing navigation challenges. Military garrisons of the Tang Dynasty maintain way stations at regular intervals, providing secure stopping points with basic amenities. The corridor's settlements, though smaller and further apart than in the fertile regions surrounding Chang'an, offer opportunities to replenish supplies and seek shelter during particularly severe weather. Visualize this winter journey through the Hexi Corridor, the line of camels creating tracks in the light snow covering the ground, the dramatic landscape with the Chang'an Mountains rising to the south, their peaks permanently snow-covered, and the forbidding Gobi extending to the north. The quality of light particular to winter, crisp and sharp, creating distinct shadows and illuminating the frozen landscape with crystalline clarity. Allow these images to engage your imagination while deepening your relaxation. The Hexi Corridor's strategic importance has made it a contested area throughout Chinese history. Control of this passage means control of access to the western regions and the valuable trade flowing from Central Asia. The Tang Dynasty has established a significant military presence in the corridor, with garrison towns housing soldiers who patrol the routes, protect travelers from bandits, and collect taxes and tolls. These garrison towns follow a standard pattern: substantial walls surrounding a settlement divided into military and civilian sections. The military areas contain barracks, training grounds, stables, and armories. The civilian portions include markets, workshops, residential areas, and facilities serving travelers. Some of these settlements began as purely military installations, but have grown into proper towns as merchants and service providers gathered to support and profit from the garrisons. Your caravan stops at one such town, Jiuquan, an important administrative center in the corridor. The walls rise impressively from the winter landscape, built from tamped earth and faced with fired bricks, with towers at regular intervals housing guards who monitor all who enter and exit. The gate itself is massive, wooden doors reinforced with iron, topped with a decorative arch bearing official insignia of the Tang Dynasty. Inside, the town shows evidence of its dual military and commercial functions. Soldiers in padded winter uniforms patrol the streets or exercise in training yards. Merchants operate shops selling goods ranging from everyday necessities to luxury items for the officer class. Blacksmiths and other craftsmen produce and repair equipment for both military and civilian needs. Inns and tea houses cater to travelers passing through this crucial waypoint. The caravan will pause here for 2 days, time for administrative procedures, trading opportunities, and rest for both humans and animals. The official requirements include documentation checks, tax payments based on the value of goods being transported, and registration with local authorities. These procedures are more elaborate than at smaller checkpoints, reflecting Jiuquan's status as a major administrative hub. The town offers welcome comforts after weeks of winter travel. The caravanserai provides heated rooms with proper beds and bathing facilities. The markets sell fresh food that has been unavailable on the road, vegetables grown in greenhouses, freshly baked bread, and meat that hasn't been dried or preserved. Specialized merchants provide services like clothing repair, animal care, and equipment maintenance, allowing travelers to address issues that have developed during the journey. For you personally, Jiuquan presents an opportunity to gather critical commercial intelligence. As you move gradually back into Chinese territory, understanding current market conditions in Chang'an becomes increasingly important for maximizing the profits from your trade goods. You visit tea houses frequented by merchants traveling westward from the capital, engaging in conversations that provide valuable information about prices, demand patterns, and competitive conditions for the specific items you're carrying. These discussions reveal significant developments that will affect your business strategy. A recent shipment of Persian carpets has reached Chang'an via the southern route, potentially reducing the premium your own carpet stock might command. Conversely, certain colors of Syrian glass are particularly fashionable among the Tang aristocracy this season, suggesting your glass vessels might fetch higher prices than initially anticipated. The emperor has recently shown interest in lapis lazuli for decorative elements in a new palace construction, creating potential opportunity for your highest quality stones. The political information you gather is equally valuable. Tensions between the Tang Dynasty and Tibet have increased, with skirmishes occurring along the southwestern frontiers. This development has reduced the flow of goods along southern routes, potentially increasing demand for merchandise coming through the Hexi corridor. Within the imperial court, certain officials known to favor trade with western regions have gained influence, suggesting possible reductions in tariffs or other favorable policy changes. As the caravan prepares to depart Juquan, you make final adjustments to your trade goods based on this new intelligence. Some items are repackaged to better appeal to current Chang'an tastes. Your assistant Davran practices descriptions of merchandise that emphasize qualities currently in favor among Tang elite customers. You mentally revise your minimum acceptable prices based on the latest market information. The landscape gradually changes as the caravan continues eastward through the Hexi corridor. The terrain becomes less arid, with more frequent rivers and streams supporting increased vegetation. Small farming settlements appear more regularly, their fields now dormant under winter frost, but showing the carefully maintained irrigation systems that will bring water from mountain streams when planting season returns. The Chang'an Mountains remain a dramatic presence to the south, but the corridor itself widens as you move toward the heartland of China. You notice subtle cultural transitions as well. The population becomes predominantly Han Chinese rather than the mix of ethnicities common further west. Architecture shifts from the Central Asian style of flat-roofed buildings around courtyards to the distinctive Chinese approach, with its emphasis on wooden construction and tiled roofs. Written Chinese appears more frequently on buildings, milestones, and official notices, replacing the multilingual inscriptions common in areas where diverse travelers required accommodation. The weather patterns change too as you move eastward. The dry cold of the western regions gives way to somewhat milder but more humid conditions. Occasional snowfall becomes more common than in the desert-adjacent portions of the corridor. Night temperatures remain severely cold, but daytime warming creates muddy conditions on some portions of the route as the ground thaws temporarily during daylight hours before freezing again at night. As you approach the eastern end of the Hexi corridor, a sense of both accomplishment and anticipation builds among the caravan members. The most dangerous portions of the journey, the mountain passes and desert crossing, lie behind you. The remaining distance to Chang'an, while still substantial, follows well-maintained imperial roads through increasingly populated and secure territories. Those who began the journey in the west have now nearly completed a remarkable feat of endurance and navigation, crossing roughly 4,000 miles of the most challenging terrain on Earth. For you personally, these final weeks of travel bring complex emotions. There's the practical satisfaction of a commercial venture nearly completed, with valuable trade goods successfully transported across vast distances. There's anticipation of reunion with family and associates in Chang'an after nearly a year of absence. There's pride in having met the physical and psychological challenges of the journey. But there's also a certain ambivalence about returning to the constraints of settled life after experiencing the extraordinary freedom and intensities of the road. Your journals, maintained faithfully throughout the journey, document not just business transactions and practical observations, but this inner journey as well. By lamplight in your tent each evening, you've recorded the transformative experiences of the Silk Road, encounters with diverse cultures, exposure to different religious and philosophical traditions, friendships formed with fellow travelers from distant lands, and the profound self-knowledge that comes from testing your limits against extreme challenges. As you settle into your sleeping furs on one of the final nights in the Hexi corridor, You reflect on how thoroughly this journey has changed you. Your perspectives have broadened immeasurably. Your understanding of the interconnected nature of distant civilizations has deepened. Your appreciation for both cultural differences and universal human experiences has grown. You return to Chang'an physically weathered by the hardships of the journey, but intellectually and spiritually enriched beyond measure. Allow yourself to drift into sleep with our merchant, your body becoming heavier, your thoughts slowing, your breath finding a natural, peaceful rhythm. The familiar sounds of the caravan at rest surround you, the soft movements of animals settling for the night, quiet conversations among fellow travelers, the whisper of wind across the winter landscape. These gentle sounds can help guide you deeper into relaxation as your breathing becomes slower and more regular, your thoughts more distant, your body more at peace. Return to Chang'an. Journey's end. After nearly 10 months of travel covering approximately 8,000 miles round trip, the final approach to Chang'an brings a profound sense of completion. The landscape has transformed gradually from the arid Hexi corridor to the increasingly fertile valley of the Wei River where the Tang Dynasty capital is located. Fields and orchards, now dormant in winter but meticulously maintained, stretch to the horizon. Villages appear with greater frequency, growing larger and more elaborate as you near the metropolitan center. Traffic on the road increases dramatically. Officials on government business, local merchants with their carts, farmers bringing produce to urban markets, religious pilgrims visiting temples, and ordinary people traveling between communities. As we accompany our merchant for this final segment of the great journey, take a deep breath in, hold it gently, and exhale completely. Feel your body becoming centered and relaxed as our historical sleep narrative reaches its culmination. The imperial highway leading to Chang'an showcases the sophisticated infrastructure of the Tang Dynasty. The road itself is remarkably wide, up to 200 feet on major approaches to the capital, with separate lanes for different types of traffic. Stone markers indicate distances at regular intervals. Drainage ditches on either side prevent flooding during rainy seasons. Rest pavilions appear at prescribed distances, providing shelter for travelers and functioning as posting stations where official couriers can exchange horses. From miles away, you begin to see evidence of the capital's presence, increasing boat traffic on the river, smoke from thousands of cooking fires creating a haze above the distant city, the highest pagodas visible as specks on the horizon. These signs of civilization, after months in remote and challenging terrain, evoke complex emotions: relief at returning safely, excitement about reuniting with family and associates, satisfaction at completing a successful trading voyage, but also a certain wistfulness about leaving behind the extraordinary experiences of the road. The caravan's composition has changed significantly since departing Samarkand. Some merchants separated at various points to follow different routes to their final destinations. Others joined along the way, including local traders operating within Chinese territories. The core group that has traveled together since Kashgar has developed strong bonds through shared challenges, creating relationships that transcend cultural and linguistic differences. As Chang'an approaches, there's a bittersweet awareness that these connections will soon dissolve as each traveler returns to their regular life. Visualize this final approach to the Tang Dynasty capital. The vast cultivated plains surrounding the city, a patchwork of fields separated by irrigation channels and windbreak trees. The imposing city walls appearing in the distance, nearly 20 miles in circumference, 40 feet high, with massive gates and defensive towers. The increasing density of human activity, farmers working winter fields, travelers on the converging roads, boats on the rivers and canals. Allow these images of return to engage your imagination while deepening your relaxation. The night before entering Chang'an, the caravan makes its final camp at a large way station specifically built to accommodate merchants waiting for the city gates to open in the morning. The atmosphere is celebratory, but also reflective. Those who have completed the entire journey from Central Asia share a final meal together, exchanging gifts to commemorate their shared experience and solidify connections that might prove valuable for future trading ventures. Narisaf, the caravan leader who has guided the group since Samarkand, offers a traditional blessing for merchants reaching their destination safely. Though simple in its language, the blessing acknowledges both the practical, commercial aspects of the journey and its deeper significance as a human endeavor that connects distant civilizations and expands understanding of the world. Your own preparations for arrival are both practical and psychological. You organize your documentation, inventory lists, proof of tax payments at various checkpoints, and letters of introduction to potential buyers in Chang'an. You review your appearance, wanting to present yourself as a successful merchant returning from a profitable journey rather than a weather-beaten traveler. Most importantly, you mentally transition from the fluid decision-making required on the road to the more structured commercial environment of the capital. Dawn reveals Chang'an in its full magnificence, the largest and most cosmopolitan city in the world of the 8th century, with a population approaching 1 million inhabitants. The caravan approaches the main western gate, an imposing structure large enough for 10 horsemen to enter abreast, topped with a multi-tiered defensive tower. Guards in Tang Dynasty uniforms examine documents, assess goods for taxation, and question new arrivals about their business in the capital. For someone returning after a trading expedition, these procedures are straightforward, though time-consuming. Your documentation is in order, you're a recognized merchant rather than an unknown visitor, and the officials are primarily concerned with ensuring proper taxation rather than security risks. Nonetheless, the process takes several hours as each merchant's goods are inspected and appropriate fees calculated. Let's take a moment for another relaxing breath cycle. Breathe in slowly, filling your lungs completely. Hold your breath gently, and exhale through slightly parted lips, making your exhale longer than your inhale. Feel any remaining tension melting away with each breath. Try this pattern 3 more times, allowing yourself to sink deeper into comfort with each cycle. Pause for breathing exercise. Finally, entering the city is an almost overwhelming sensory experience after months in remote regions where human presence was sparse and development minimal. Chang'an is laid out in a perfect grid, with broad avenues intersecting at right angles to create a chessboard pattern of wards and neighborhoods. The main streets are over 150 feet wide, large enough for multiple lanes of traffic and lined with drainage ditches, trees, and official buildings. The architectural style is distinctively Chinese, wooden structures with sweeping rooflines and decorative elements in vibrant colors, arranged around courtyards and organized according to strict principles of hierarchy and function. The population density creates a human tapestry of extraordinary diversity. Though predominantly Chinese, the capital attracts people from across Asia and beyond: Koreans, Japanese, Tibetans, Uyghurs, Sogdians, Persians, Arabs, Indians, and even occasional visitors from as far away as Byzantium. This cosmopolitanism is most evident in the Western market, one of 2 main commercial centers specifically oriented toward international trade, where merchants from distant lands maintain permanent establishments. For the returning merchant, the first priorities are securing accommodations and ensuring the safety of valuable trade goods. You make your way to the merchant quarter, where you maintain a small but comfortable residence that has been looked after by servants during your absence. The relief of returning to a familiar space after nearly a year of travel is profound. The private courtyard with its carefully tended garden, the main hall with its familiar furnishings, the sleeping chamber with an actual bed rather than a traveling mat, the kitchen area where proper meals can be prepared rather than simple travel food. Your trade goods are transferred from the camels to a secure storeroom within your residence compound. The animals themselves are taken to stables at the city's edge, where they will be cared for until needed for another journey or sold if you choose to acquire fresh mounts for your next expedition. Your assistants, Pulad and Davran, help with this final unloading before taking their leave. They will return to their Sogdian community in Chang'an's northwestern quarter, though arrangements are made for them to return in a few days to help when you begin selling your merchandise. That first evening back in Chang'an is spent quietly, adjusting to the strange sensation of permanent walls and a stable environment after so many months of constant movement. The sounds of the city, conversations from neighboring compounds, the calls of street vendors, the distant drums and bells marking the hours, seem simultaneously familiar and foreign. Your body, accustomed to the rhythms of caravan travel, feels almost uncomfortable in the stillness of a proper bed. The following days establish a new routine centered on the business of selling your trade goods to maximum advantage. Each category of merchandise requires different handling. The Persian carpets are displayed in your reception hall, where potential buyers can examine them in appropriate surroundings. The Syrian glassware is carefully unpacked and arranged on tables, where light can showcase its colors and craftsmanship. The lapis lazuli and other stones are sorted by quality and size for different market segments. The spices are measured into quantities suitable for various types of customers. The Western market becomes your primary business location, where you rent a small shop space for displaying samples of your goods, while keeping the majority secure in your residence storeroom. This market occupies an entire ward of the city, with sections organized by product type and geographic origin. The Persian carpet section, the Syrian and Egyptian glass area, the precious stone dealers row, each has its established location within the larger market structure. Your years of experience as a merchant and your connections from previous journeys prove valuable in establishing the best prices and finding appropriate buyers. For the highest quality items, you arrange private viewings with aristocratic households known for their appreciation of exotic goods. For mid-range merchandise, you work through established brokers who supply shops catering to the prosperous but not wealthy commercial class. For more common items, direct sales through your market stall provide a steady flow of income while you negotiate the more significant transactions. Beyond the purely commercial aspects of your return, Chang'an offers opportunities to share the broader experiences of your journey. In tea houses frequented by the educated elite, you find appreciative audiences for tales of distant places, different cultural practices, and the political developments you've observed in Central Asia. Your first-hand accounts of the growing Arab influence in traditionally Persian and Sogdian territories, the expansion of Islam along the western portions of the Silk Road, or the increasing tensions between Tang China and Tibet on the southern frontiers, are valuable to officials responsible for foreign relations and to scholars studying the wider world. You also deliver letters and small gifts entrusted to you by various individuals encountered during your travels. A letter from a Sogdian merchant in Samarkand to his brother established in Chang'an, a small carved jade piece from a Chinese official stationed in Kashgar to his family in the capital, a packet of particularly rare seeds from a botanic enthusiast in Dunhuang to a like-minded collector in the imperial city. These personal connections across vast distances represent another form of Silk Road exchange as significant in human terms as the commercial transactions that financially sustain the network. As weeks pass and your trade goods find their intended markets, you begin preliminary planning for your next journey. The substantial profits from this expedition provide capital for an even more ambitious trading venture. Your enhanced reputation as a merchant who has successfully completed the full Silk Road circuit opens new opportunities for partnerships and investments. Your expanded knowledge of Western markets allows more precise targeting of Chinese exports likely to find premium buyers in specific locations. Yet, underlying these practical considerations is a deeper question about the meaning and purpose of Silk Road travel. The journey you've completed has been transformative in ways that transcend commercial success. You've experienced landscapes of breathtaking beauty and terrifying harshness. You've encountered philosophical and religious traditions that challenge your previous understanding of the world. You've formed friendships with people whose backgrounds and perspectives differ dramatically from your own. You've tested your physical and mental limits against some of the most challenging conditions humans can endure. In your private garden one evening, watching snow fall gently on the carefully arranged rocks and winter-dormant plants, you reflect on the contrast between settled life and life on the road. The comforts of Chang'an, proper meals, clean clothing, private spaces, cultural refinements, are undeniable pleasures after months of basic conditions. Yet there's a simplicity and intensity to caravan existence that residents in the capital cannot match, a direct engagement with the fundamental realities of survival, and an immediate connection to the earth and its rhythms. This tension between stability and movement, between the refined civilization of urban centers and the raw experiences of the road, has defined Silk Road culture for centuries. The great cities like Chang'an, Samarkand, and Baghdad represent magnificent achievements of human creativity and organization. But the routes connecting them, with their caravanserais, oasis settlements, and nomadic encampments, create a different kind of cultural space, fluid, adaptable, and innovative, precisely because they exist at the intersections between established traditions. As you prepare for sleep in your familiar bed, listening to the gentle sound of snow accumulating on the tiled roof of your residence, you recognize that you have become a citizen of both worlds. In Chang'an, you participate in the sophisticated culture of the Tang Dynasty with its artistic accomplishments, administrative complexities, and social hierarchies. But having traveled the Silk Road in its entirety, you also belong to that international community of merchants, pilgrims, diplomats, and adventurers who move between civilizations, carrying not just trade goods, but ideas, technologies, artistic motifs, and cultural practices across the vast Eurasian continent. Allow yourself to drift into sleep with our merchant, your body becoming heavier, your thoughts slowing, your breath finding a natural, peaceful rhythm. The gentle sound of snowfall creates a peaceful backdrop as you reflect on the completed journey and its meaning. The cycle of departure and return that defines not just Silk Road travel but human experience more broadly. Our journey along the ancient Silk Road with the merchants who made these remarkable voyages has come to its conclusion. We've traveled from the ordered splendor of Tang Dynasty Chang'an through the narrow Hexi corridor, across the forbidding Taklamakan Desert, over the soaring Pamir Mountains, into the fertile Fergana Valley, and to the cosmopolitan crossroads of Samarkand, before retracing our steps eastward to complete the circuit. As we conclude this historical sleep narrative, take a final deep breath in, hold it gently, and exhale completely. Feel your body fully relaxed, your mind peaceful, as we reflect on the experiences we've shared through this immersive journey into the past. The Silk Road was never a single path, but rather a complex network of routes connecting East Asia with the Mediterranean world, with branches extending to Southeast Asia, the Indian subcontinent, and the Middle East. Active primarily from the 2nd century BCE until the mid-15th century CE, these trade routes facilitated not just the exchange of valuable merchandise, but the transmission of technologies, religious beliefs, artistic styles, and cultural practices across thousands of miles and dozens of distinctive civilizations. The merchants who traveled these routes faced extraordinary challenges: geographic obstacles like deserts and mountain ranges, political complexities of crossing numerous jurisdictions with different laws and customs, linguistic barriers requiring multilingual intermediaries, and the omnipresent risks of banditry, illness, and unpredictable weather. Their journeys required not just physical endurance, but diplomatic skill, commercial acumen, and remarkable adaptability. Yet despite these challenges, the Silk Road flourished for centuries, creating connections that transformed the participating cultures. Buddhism traveled from India to China along these routes, profoundly influencing East Asian spiritual traditions. Paper, originally a Chinese invention, moved westward, eventually revolutionizing information storage and transmission in the Middle East and Europe. Artistic motifs and techniques passed in multiple directions, creating new aesthetic syntheses wherever they landed. Agricultural products, including various fruits, grains, and spices, were transplanted to new regions, diversifying diets and economies across Eurasia. Now, as our historical journey reaches its end, I invite you to take one more deep breathing cycle. Breathe in slowly, filling your lungs completely. Hold your breath gently, and exhale through slightly parted lips, making your exhale twice as long as your inhale. Feel yourself completely at peace, fully relaxed, and ready for restful sleep. If you found this historical sleep journey helpful, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us continue creating these immersive experiences to help others relax and drift into peaceful sleep. The legacy of the Silk Road extends far beyond the historical period of its active use. The cultural exchanges it facilitated shaped the development of numerous civilizations and created lasting connections between distant regions. Many modern nations along these routes still show evidence of this heritage in their languages, religions, cuisines, and artistic traditions. The ideal of peaceful exchange between different cultures that characterize the best aspects of Silk Road interaction remains relevant in our increasingly interconnected world. Our merchant's journey represents countless similar expeditions undertaken by brave and enterprising individuals over many centuries. While the specific goods they carried, silk from China, glass from Syria, spices from India, lapis lazuli from Afghanistan, had particular value in their time, the true significance of their travels lay in the human connections they created and the knowledge they shared across vast distances and disparate cultures. As you drift towards sleep, carry with you images from our journey. The symmetrical grandeur of Chang'an with its perfect grid of streets, the stark beauty of the Taklamakan Desert under a canopy of stars, the breathtaking vistas from Pamir Mountain passes, the vibrant markets of Samarkand, where traders from across the known world gathered to exchange goods and ideas. Let these historical landscapes guide you into peaceful dreams, connecting you to the travelers who experienced these sights 1,000 years ago. The gentle sway of camel travel, the rhythmic pace that carried merchants across thousands of miles, can rock you now toward restful sleep. The sounds of the ancient caravanserai at night, soft conversations in multiple languages, the occasional movement of animals, the whisper of wind through courtyard trees, can create a soothing backdrop for your transition into slumber. Allow yourself to relax completely, knowing our historical journey has reached its conclusion. Your body becoming perfectly heavy against your bed, your breathing slow and regular, your thoughts drifting peacefully as you follow our Silk Road merchant into well-deserved rest after the long journey home. Sleep well, dear listener, carried by the ancient rhythms of the Silk Road into dreams of distant lands and times long past, connected through imagination to the countless travelers who made these remarkable journeys across the vast expanses of the Eurasian continent, creating connections between civilizations that continue to shape our world today. Good night, and thank you for traveling with us along the ancient Silk Road.